No.
Good evening. The time is now 6:30. I'm Chairwoman Jacqueline Macumber, and I'd like to call this advisory committee meeting to order on this date, May 4th, 2026. At this time, I ask you to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The Templeton Advisory Committee pre-town meeting is being broadcast live on TCTV Channel 8 and TCTV YouTube channel. Responses will be made to comments in the TCTV YouTube channel as time permits. The agenda and meeting materials for this business meeting were posted to mytowngovernment.org/01468 no later than 48 hours prior to the scheduled meeting in accordance with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts open meeting laws. The chair reserves the right to add items to, remove items from, or change the order of the agenda. However, the agenda is posted in advance to give the committee and public time to review the agenda items and ensure the meeting runs within the allotted time frame. At this time, I please ask everyone to silence their phones. And moving right into public comments. Is there anybody who would like to make a public comment at this time? No. All right, moving on to number 5, which is old business. Approval of the March 7th, 2026 meeting minutes. Anybody a chance to just look at them? For these ones? It's a large thing. Is it
13 pages?
Oh, that's March. Okay, that one's fine. Okay, here you go. All right. This is from Budget Saturday, so it's very lengthy. Thank you, April, for this.
Yeah,
I know it's painful because I did them last year.
I think I'm good.
Okay.
It's good. Yeah. So I would like to make a motion that we accept the March 7th, 2026 meeting minutes as presented.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? No. April, how do you vote?
Yes.
Liz?
Yes.
I'm a yes, so the minutes have passed. Next up is the March 9th, 2026 meeting minutes.
This is the combined meeting.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's good to me.
We'll make a motion that we accept the March 9th, 2026 meeting minutes as presented.
I'll second that.
Any further discussions?
No.
April, how do you vote?
Yes.
Liz?
Yes.
And also yes, so those minutes pass.
And these are signed copies for you?
Perfect, thank you. And we'll just table the March 23rd and April 16th minutes for now. And moving into number 6, which is new business. I would entertain a motion to open pre-town meeting at this time.
I make a motion that we open pre-town meeting.
I'll second that.
All right. April, how do you vote?
Yeah.
Liz, how do you vote?
Yes.
And also yes. Pre-town meeting is now open. We can move into Article 1. You have your Voters. The warrant, I'm gonna find the end of this. Alright, I'll read. I'll read Article 1. Article 1 is late bills. To see if the town will vote to appropriate the payment of the late bills from the prior fiscal year from the FY 26 budget of the following departments and the following amounts. Department, Select Board, Van Pool, amount $2,955.50. Late prior year bill. Department of Public Services, Impact Fire, amount $157. Late prior year bill. Department of Public Services, WB Mason, $48.87. That's a late prior year bill. Or to take any other action related thereto, submitted by the Select Board, fifth vote required. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. It was my understanding that this was gonna be paid from free cash.
Mhm.
Anybody have any questions or comments, or?
I don't have a question, I have a comment. Every year, we tend to have late bills. And I don't know what the department heads or the TA can do. So that way we don't have this every year. It just seems to be, I don't know why they're late. Each one is probably different for different reasons. But we really need to try not to have late bills going forward.
I think it's just the cycle in which they're built,
Hmm.
which goes into the next fiscal year. I don't think there's anything really that can be done about it.
I just question if there's like, you know, sometimes when you pay your bills late, there's fines or fees or taxes or whatever, interest or demands or whatever. And are we paying those? Cause that seems ridiculous if that's the case, but.
So that's the biggest thing.
Right.
Yes.
Any other further discussion? Moving on to Article 2.
Do we?
We vote after
Okay.
on all of them.
Oh, really?
Yes.
We're not gonna do it as we go?
Nope, it's always after.
Oh.
So you can jot down on your note, like what you plan to say.
Yes.
All right, yeah. Okay, do you want me to read the
Yeah,
next one?
go
So
ahead.
you don't, okay. Article 2, fiscal year 2026 operating budget amendments. To see if the town will vote to appropriate the sum of $385,678.00 for the supplemental appropriations to the fiscal year 2026 operating budget as follows. Department Public Services for $18,572. The reasons: a settlement of union contract. Department Snow and Ice for $275, $275,000, $110. Yeah, right. I'll get that out right one of these times. FY 26 deficit, health insurance, $91,966, mid-year deficit payment, and to meet said appropriations by a transfer of said sum from certified free cash or take any other action related hereto. Submitted by the Select Board, majority vote required.
Is this,
Yep, go ahead.
is the snow and ice deficit because they were cut last year, and did we put that money back this year? I believe we didn't.
Every year,
Every year.
every year, we guesstimate, but we
Never.
guesstimate on the very low side.
Yeah, we never give enough money, so every year there's always.
Okay.
And it's the one area I've been told you can deficit spend.
Okay.
Okay, all right, moving on to Article 3. Article 3, TCTV supplemental appropriation to see if the town will vote to appropriate the sum of $22,000.00 to the cable department for supplemental appropriation to its fiscal year 2026 operating budget to total in aggregate the sum of $200,650.00 and to meet said appropriation by a transfer of said sum from retained earnings of the cable fund or take any action related thereto submitted by the Select Board, majority vote required. Mr. Castle?
Would you like me to brief you on this?
Absolutely, it would be wonderful, thank you.
Good evening. Hope you all well. This article was passed at the November
Yes.
meeting and then was voided because the town did not certify free cash and retained earnings. on
That's
time.
what
So we thought we might need this money then. We need it. We're gonna come up short unless we cut back drastically right now. And I estimate that we could need as much as $15,000. And I'm working minimum right now through the end of the fiscal year, so my bill isn't, my bill to the town is gonna be like $3,000 at the most for some months. And, you know, I may have to either take all of June off or not be paid or whatnot, but anyways, I think we're gonna come up short with it. I may ask for a different number at town meeting. So we don't have to lock up all our retained earnings again and then come back in November again and try to get them and risk something, you know, another accounting apocalypse here and it not being certified again. There's also a transfer that we're talking about from another department. I don't want to put that person on the spot, but a meeting today was held with the town administrator and he wants a couple days to think it over. And I'm gonna be talking with him. If we can get that transfer done for 15,000 and approved by the select board Monday night, then I will pass on this article and ask that our retained earnings of 24,000 be put onto our budget. Does that make sense?
So right now, you think you're gonna be 15K short?
Yeah.
So you're gonna up this dollar amount by 15K on the floor? that
No,
what you're
I'll
anticipating?
change it to 15,000
from
from 22.
22.
Okay.
No promises, but that's what I plan right now, and I've, you know, looked at the budget enough to say, okay, I think this is where we can be relatively safe. Because a lot of times, and I'm gonna have to make transfers. Liz, you called it last year, sitting here in Super Budget Saturday, right? You're gonna have to take this line item and move it to personnel at the end of the year, and that's kind of what we have to do with some things. So we're gonna have to take money that's left in supplies, the 5,400 account, and transfer it into indirect, where we pay the benefits, because we got a surprise bill of 2,000 that we didn't plan for when the insurance was changed. And we may be able to save a couple thousand in services because we were without internet at Scout Hall for 9 months.
Mhm.
So, that may be able to transfer into personnel, but you know, you don't do it by the penny and catch yourself short, so you wanna leave usually $1,000 in there, and you don't know if you're gonna have surprise bills.
Right.
So,
If I may ask.
Absolutely.
Mr. Question.
Yeah.
When does when does a joint meeting have to be in place for the select board and advisory to transfer funds between accounts?
It's usually the end of June.
Is that just the month of June?
No,
Yeah, it would be prior to the beginning of the next
July
fiscal year,
1st.
July 1st.
July, okay,
So when I have participated in joint meetings in the past, it's usually been in the last 2 weeks of the year.
all right.
okay, well.
So that's why, the reason for my
I
question,
forgot it had to be a joint meeting, my apologies.
yeah, I think it has to be a
Okay.
joint meeting. The TA can't just,
Then I'm gonna have to ask for the retained earnings. So for 15,000, just to be on the safe side, because I don't wanna risk it.
Yeah,
And then not get that transfer.
yeah,
So,
so let's double check what needs to happen on that. If,
it's usually a joint meeting.
Yeah.
It's the end of the year and there's paperwork that is signed by, well, me.
Yeah.
And the select board, and it's voted on by both boards.
Yeah.
At a joint meeting.
it was almost an extra step too easy.
Yeah, it is.
yeah,
And it's usually like the last meeting of
Yeah.
June that it happens. It's like.
But I'll check with Mr. Ryan anyways and see it, but we're probably gonna have to ask for the retained earnings or at least a portion of it.
Yep.
Maybe I'll have a better idea next week, but you know, I run it and I'm pretty good at the forecasting. So I think 15,000 would put us in a safe slot. You don't need the whole 22.
That's good.
We've been trying to save.
I appreciate
you.
that.
We haven't
Thank you.
spent hardly any
Yeah,
extra money this year, so.
that's great. Thank you.
Okay.
Snow has a question if you're.
Oh, yes,
Yeah. Could I just comment briefly?
sure.
No, I don't know why you didn't just sit up front.
He wants to come back.
Yes, he does.
You know, in examining many budgets and you know, meeting with Mr. Castle, he's kind of in an unusual position, you know, because he has you know, TCTV and he has Montechusett TV. And it is you know, he's part of the town, but he's, you know, it's just public-private or semi-private kind of mix. And what I'm concerned about is, you know, Mr. Castle is in the unusual position, it seems, of having to raise his own money and also obtain appropriations from the town. And I just think that a long-term solution needs to be had. And I just see two ways for a long-term solution, because I don't see the town having a lot of free cash, you know, over the next, you know, several years. You know, one of the items I think that Mr. Castle can be assisted with is the town's interface with the state economic development people. One of the things that we have failed at as a town, unfortunately, is that we don't have a sustained interface between the town and you know, the Massachusetts economic development people. They literally have millions of dollars to give out, and they want to give out money. And the way things are now, it's not the traditional model, you know, of asking your legislator to appropriate money. You know, the model for economic development is now to have a planner or somebody within the town who you know, can make grant requests. But what makes it difficult with the way the town is structured is that it takes a lot of time, because the economic development money is in silos. It's in, you know, there's one silo is downtown, you know, improving the overall appearance of your city or town. And then there's another silo, which is dedicated towards the infrastructure. And then, you know, so there's these different silos, and there's 4 or 5 of them, but there's a lot of money in each silo. And what I see as the town's problem and the castle's problem is that it takes a lot of time to you know, figure out which silo is the right silo and then apply for the money. And the other problem that Mr. Castle has, and I am working on this, you know, privately as a private citizen, is that you know, the large media companies, the streaming media companies, they're multi-billion-dollar enterprises, and they have killed off attempts, you know, to impose fees on their operations. And the failure, you know, their ability to kill off bills and attempts to impose fees by the legislature has really harmed Mr. Castle's efforts. If there could be a way, you know, the town cannot tax as income the streaming videos. We're prohibited from doing that. Other states allow local cities and towns to do that, but in Mr. Castle's case, it is the prerogative of the state legislature, and they're just not moving on that. And there have been bills for the last 3 or 4 years to try to remedy that. And Mr. Castle has been harmed, TCTV has been harmed, and I don't see any resolution to that. So I just asked, you know, when you make a recommendation on you know, Mr. Castle's request, that you think of those items, and also think of those items, you know, going down, you know, in the future as part of the long range planning of the town.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. I can't stay for your meeting. I have to get home. my wife's birthday.
Yeah, thank you for letting me
You better,
speak.
yeah,
Thank
thank you, go home.
Yes, right away.
Better pick up some flowers on.
And the cable article for our funding should be self-explanatory, but also know. Well, I guess we may not change it on the floor, but maybe there'll be some retained earnings that we can add to it. As well, okay?
That's wonderful.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, you're welcome. Thank you for all yours.
Right,
Going new, who's the next one?
you can read. I don't think April wants to read.
No.
Okay, you don't want to do, okay. Article 4, deposit to capital stabilization fund. To see if the town will vote to appropriate the sum of $55,061.00 to make a deposit into the CapEx stabilization account submitted by the select board, majority vote required.
Pretty self-explanatory.
Yep,
Good night, folks. Have a
Good night.
good night.
Right. Any other questions or comments on that?
No.
No, okay, moving on to Article 5. Capital items, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $32,000 and no cents towards the capital purchases as generally illustrated below. The Department, Public Services, description, Town Hall window replacement, the amount is $25,000. The department is the Narragansett Regional School District. The description is bullet resistant glass at TES and the amount is $7,000. And to meet said appropriation by transfer of $32,000 and no cents from certified free cash or take any other action related thereto submitted by the select board, majority vote required. So, the windows obviously will be a great solution to the energy crisis in this building.
That has to do with an energy grant also. They need to be done so that we don't lose that.
Yeah.
So that is, I think that's very important, and obviously the bulletproof glass, that speaks for itself. I think that's important too, so. I'm a yes on that.
So if I can just expand on both of those.
Yep, absolutely, please do.
So, the first thing is for the bulletproof resistant glass and TES. It's for anyone who doesn't know, in the vestibule. Yeah, that,
Vestibule.
thank you. Somebody can walk into that, and yes, there's a door on each side, there are windows on each side, but the internal glass window into the office area is not bulletproof. So the idea is to make it safer for the kids. So that way people, if you're contained in there, you still can't get out of that area. So it's a safety issue.
And that is a town-owned building.
And it is a town-owned building, yes. The other thing is for the town hall window replacement. There's a green community grant, as April mentioned. And then, over the winter, there's a lot of, I'll say, electric heaters running because of how cold and drafty this building is because of the windows. So it's money well spent, and I believe, for the $25,000 to get the rest of the windows done, to maintain the green community grant, and hopefully to lower our electric costs going forward and the heating costs.
Perfect.
You have a question?
Yes,
I have a question.
yeah,
You said, she said that the Narragansett School is a town-owned building,
Yes.
is it?
yes.
Templeton
Templeton.
Elementary.
Oh, Templeton Elementary. Okay.
That's the window that we're talking about.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry, I wasn't clear.
Right. Moving on to Article 6.
Okay, I get the big numbers. Article 6, fiscal year 2026 sewer department operating budget supplement. What?
No, I'm here.
To see if the town will vote to appropriate the sum of $20,399 and no cents to increase the FY 26 sewer department operating budget by said sum to total in the aggregate the sum of $1,676,656 and no cents, to meet the health insurance and union settlement obligations and to meet said appropriation by a transfer of said sum from certified retained earnings, or to take any other action related thereto, submitted by the select board on behalf of the sewer commissioners, majority vote required.
Those are our contractual obligations. We don't have much of a choice, so the answer is yes.
And this, the sewer comes out of the sewer retained earnings, so it's not out of tax. Under the taxes itself.
Sorry, I'm just writing down notes for this, for our voters guide. Get ready. It's coming. It's gonna be a big one. It's a big year. Okay, Article 7. Consent agenda, to see if the town will vote to approve a consent agenda consisting of the following non-controversial actions or take any action related thereto. Such items may be voted as a block or singly or in any combination, but however voted, they will be treated for accounting and legislative purposes as if each item were voted as a separate article. A, reports of town officers. Accept the reports of the town officers as printed in the 2025 town report. B, reports of town committees. Allow any town committee to present its report. C, set annual spending limits of revolving funds. Set the annual spending limits of the town's revolving funds as follows. Burial and Improvement Fund, $10,000. Recycling Fund, $10,000. Plumbing and Gas Inspector Fund, $20,000. Electrical Inspector Fund, $100,000. Parks and Recreation Fund, $100,000. Salt Brine Production System Fund, $25,000. D, accept Transportation Network Community Fee Assessment. Appropriate such sum of money as it may be received by the town from the Massachusetts Transportation Network Community Fee Assessment to an account entitled Mart Dial-A-Ride, or take any action related thereto submitted by the select board, majority vote required. Questions, comments?
My only real comment is I hope people read the town report. It's available in the select board's office. So if you could take a look at that beforehand, I believe there's also an electronic version available online if you preferred that format as well. These are pretty standard spending limits, I think that we've had in prior years. So I don't see anybody having any issues with any of those. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. April? Nope. All right. Moving on to.
Okay.
Article 8.
Article 8, funding of community preservation accounts. So to see if the town will vote to appropriate the sum of $410,000 and no cents to the several accounts of the Community Preservation Committee as recommended by the Community Preservation Committee as follows. Administrative account, which is $20,500 for 5%. Historic Resources Reserve, $41,000, 10%. Community Housing Reserve, $41,000, 10%. Open Space and Recreation Reserve, $41,000, 10%. General Reserve, $266,500, 65%, for a total of $410,000 and 100%. And to meet said appropriation by the transfer from the Community Preservation annual revenues, which include the amount to be collected as a surcharge on real property, and the November 2026 state match for CPC permissible expenses, or take any other action related thereto, submitted by the select board on behalf of the Community Preservation Committee, majority vote required.
Any questions, comments, concerns?
I have none, because I believe we get reimbursed for some of this, by the way this is phrased, so. Oof. That's it.
Gave nothing.
Okay. Right. Move to Article 9, CPA funding for Heroes Park project. To see if the town will vote to appropriate the sum of $330,000 and no cents for the following mentioned project as followed. Item agent to expend Parks and Rec Commission. The amount is $330,000. The purpose is Heroes Park. And the funding source, CPA, is $330,000 undesignated. And there's a little blurb in the bottom that says, provide funding for the Templeton Parks and Recreation Commission to create a Heroes Park at Houghton Park on 9 Main Street in Otter River. The park will honor Templeton residents who served during World War II, Korea, Vietnam, global war on terrorism, as well as the first responders, fire, police, and EMTs, including the purchase and installment of new monuments, relocation of an existing monument, and associated landscaping and site work, or take any other action related thereto submitted by the select board on behalf of the Community Preservation Committee, majority vote required.
I have a comment on most of
Okay,
these, some stuff.
That's fine, no, please do, because I am noting,
Okay.
so.
All right, so, first of all, I love the idea of the Heroes Park. I think it's very important to honor everyone who puts themselves in harm's way.
Yeah.
Having said that, the one thing that tends to happen with some of the CPA funding is that, great, wonderful, we have this in place. After the fact, how do we maintain it? And that ends up putting an unfunded mandate on either Parks and Rec or Buildings and Grounds or something somewhere. That is, I fully support the Heroes Park. I'm just worried about what happens in the following years when we need to maintain it. And it's like that's never covered in these CPA funding projects is what happens afterwards.
Right.
So that is my only concern. I fully support it, but that's.
Was there like, always wonder if there's a way to like have like minimal amount of landscaping that, so we're not like having to like remulch things or like replant flowers and.
But even if you put the stone in, you're gonna have to pull the weeds. I too echo your concerns. Yes.
Yeah.
Will there be somebody from Parks and Rec and Building and Grounds to speak to this at the meeting?
I would hope so.
Can you just state your name
Yeah, I'm
for,
Jim Brio. Heroes Park has been my project for the last 2 years.
okay, wonderful, well, welcome.
I'm glad you came. Thank you.
Also on Parks and Rec, so one meets the other.
There you go.
So you spoke about the monuments. There's gonna be a very large platform, a concrete platform,
Good.
and the monuments are gonna set on that platform. We also make sure that there's gonna be inscriptions and stuff on all the names are gonna be on the front of the monuments. Names are gonna be sandblasted in. So it'll be there forever. The back of the monuments, we wanna put some inscriptions of some sort that depicts those different war eras. And there'll be access between the monuments that you can come around on a wheelchair access to see what's on the back. So weeding is not a problem around stones.
Wonderful.
We've made sure, in our plans, to make sure that that's not a problem. So behind that, there's gonna be some three cherry trees. Again, no maintenance there. There's not flowers anywhere. Again, because as you said, we don't want, it's a maintenance problem. So we're not gonna shovel that in the winter time. All the inscriptions gonna be at least 2 feet above ground, so nothing's gonna be in snow. So you'll be able to read it year round if you want. There'll be a couple of park benches, again, on that concrete platform. So again, the maintenance around it is gonna be the same as it is right now. You're just mowing some grass, less
Wonderful.
grass than you have now.
Thank you so much for coming
Thank
and
you.
answering that question.
Much appreciated.
Yeah, any other questions?
No?
If I may.
Yeah.
So it's,
Thank you.
we got a lot of groundwork to do now. Once this gets approved, if it's approved, then we can actually order the monuments. They're coming in from India. We have India black granite. And the reason for that, it's a pure stone. If we're sandblasting into, gray granite, there's pores in there, and you get a soft spot in the inscription that you have,
Breaks down.
it's wasted. You can't read it. So it's polished stone, it's gonna be nice, there's no real maintenance to that. It's like the Vietnam Wall, the Korean Wall monument, there's no maintenance required to those
Wonderful.
for the last 30, 40 years, so as long as they've been there. That's where we're headed. There'll be 3 flag poles, so yes, we have to have new flags on a regular basis, but we'll make sure that we use some CPA money, and I'm sure we're gonna have money left over to store some flags for first few years, at least we'll have, flags replaced. So I think we've covered all those maintenance issues, in our plans.
Thank you for doing this.
You'll
Just thank you
We've
very,
got
very
another
much.
year and a half left to go. So looking at it, that stone is gonna take some months to get here. So we hope to have all of the groundwork done, all the concrete, all the trees, flag poles, all that stuff ready for springtime of next year. We'll put the stones in, because it's gonna take that long for them to get here and get all the inscriptions done.
Wonderful.
Any
Thank you
other-
so much. I appreciate you coming.
No, just very supportive of the
Yeah.
whole project. I
Yes.
just, thank you for your
The ball
service.
got dropped by our forefathers. They took care of World War I and World War II, but everything that came afterwards never happened.
That sounds
And
beautiful.
there was an attempt to do it a couple of years ago, but it fell apart. I think the location was bad. There's an oil tank below the groundwork and it wasn't good. So I got a phone call. I said, and within 30 seconds, I said, yes.
We really appreciate you coming out and answering these questions and
Thank you.
yes,
Which monument, I don't know.
which monument are you moving?
Oh.
She,
Yeah. So the World War II monument is right. It's an old fieldstone monument such as we have in East Templeton, Baldwin, and Round River, and in Templeton Center. It has all the names. It's on a bronze plaque. So we're afraid that if we attempt to move that, it's gonna fall apart, but we are salvaging the plaque. We're gonna refurbish that plaque and put it into a nice black stone that matches all the other ones.
Nice.
So we don't want it standing out, so we still wanna make sure we have that logo too.
Great.
wonderful.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Call me if you need me.
Absolutely. We appreciate your time. I'm sure the residents appreciate as well. That answers some questions.
Mhm.
All right, at this time, I would like to jump ahead a few to what's your number, Noel? Citizens petition number 735 and have Mr. Francis come up and join us.
Well, I would ask, it might be helpful if we go to 29 and then, Bob, to have override at number 30, maybe we can do that last.
You can come in, I just would like to value your time, because your time is important, so please come on up and, yeah.
Yeah, well, it has my name on it, but if it fails, we're gonna put your name on it. Excellent.
I like them to stay until the end.
I know,
Yeah.
but
You both know how to do that.
So if it passes, Noel's name's going on it. If it fails, John's name's going on it.
That's exactly how.
Yeah.
right, so we are moving to Article 29. You have the floor. Mr. Francis,
Thank you.
Do you wanna
do I
read
need to
them?
set a timer? We're not really, you can just summarize.
Yeah, that's all, that's what.
Please do.
I'm not gonna read it word by word.
So they know what we're talking about.
Yes, well, Noel's gonna summarize what Article 29 is, because it's his petition, so
Okay.
Yeah.
he's gonna do that right now.
What Article 29 asks for the voters to consider a permanent override to Prop 2.5 of an increase of 6.5% every 5 fiscal years, starting 5 years from now, which would be fiscal year 2033, which starts July 1st, 2032. One of the consistent problems with Prop 2.5 and all the cities and towns is that
Thank you.
you know, folks are reluctant, town officials are reluctant to place Prop 2.5 overrides on the ballot. You know, there is a reluctance. So what happens is when a Prop 2.5 override does come, quite often is asking for 20 or 30% increase in property taxes. which makes voters angry, and it puts town officials under the gun, so to speak. Two cities and towns in Massachusetts have regular Proposition 2.5 overrides. One is the city of Arlington. They have approximately 40,000 registered voters. It's a big league city. Their finance board chairman, the equivalent of our advisory committee, for years and years was the head of the statewide finance committees association. So he's very knowledgeable about this, and he saw this pattern, and so he decided, and he pushed through an ordinance within the city of Arlington to have Proposition 2.5 overrides automatic every 3 years. I did look on the website of Arlington. I couldn't find out exactly what they do, but the more important thing is the timing. So they have regular. It's built right into, baked right into the budget. The other thing that the city of Arlington does is they have a long-term planning committee. So the long-term planning committee will take, when an override year comes up, they will prioritize, what projects should be done in that year when they have more money than the ordinary 2.5% increase. The other town that does this, which is much smaller than the city of Arlington, is the town of Chatham on Cape Cod. And they do it for a longer period of time. They do it once every 5 fiscal years, which is what the citizens petition proposes. So the idea of this is to even out, the increases, over a longer period of time, and, give local officials a chance to plan. And so that you're not confronted with, the situation that we have now where, all of a sudden out of nowhere, there's a Proposition 2.5 override request for, 15 or 20 or 25% all at once, which nobody is happy with, understandably. So the idea is to smooth out, the Prop 2.5 process. Okay.
My concern is that you use two rather wealthy communities in comparison to the small town of Templeton.
That is a valid point. That's a valid point. They are wealthy communities. And I think my response would be that even though it would be an ordinance, it could be written in such a way that, to allow for flexibility. So every 5th year when the potential increase comes up, there could be a mechanism to, instead of 6.5% that year, maybe it could be 4.5%, or maybe if the needs are greater, it could be 8.5%.
I think that doing it the way that we do and looking at what our needs are today is a more realistic approach.
I would respectfully disagree with that. I think that I think that what our town needs to do, and granted we're a poor town unlike Chatham, is that we need to,
In Arlington.
is that we really need to have, 5-year plans.
I agree.
And we don't really have that. And Templeton is not unique. Most small towns do not have, a 5-year plan. But I think that if you did have some kind of a 5-year plan, if you knew that there was an increase coming up, you could plan for it, and it could be written into the bylaw.
People could sell their house.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Get out before it goes up.
I mean,
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
sure.
both of these are in either their charter or their bylaws, because my understanding is that the only part of the town government that can put a Prop 2.5 override on a warrant is the Board of Selectmen, or the Select Board. So I understand the desire to try to plan things out. There are other mechanisms in place that if all the department heads actually follow the existing bylaws, you would already know what a lot of the planning things are because of the 5-year plans. I understand, you want to get some consistency in the finances, but this particular petition, if what I've been told is accurate, and I'll stand corrected, you know, if I've been told that legally, the only people that can put it on a warrant is the select board. That's it. So that's not gonna get past the age, even if it passes in town meeting, it's not gonna get past the AG.
And Gail just looked it up, it's true.
It's true. Okay, so,
If nothing else, you know, if nothing
Yeah.
else, the need is for long-term planning.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we're not a wealthy town like Arlington, which has long-term planning, but you know, you need to have long-term planning of some type. And you need to have some kind of consistency in how Prop 2.5 overrides are considered. So if nothing else, this petition is an effort to, you know, start a conversation on that subject. I've heard many, many times over the years that I've lived here, and when I lived in Gardner, you know, there's always a consistent outcry among the public for, you know, we need long-term planning, let's have long-term planning. But when it really comes down to the nuts and bolts of it, you know, it very rarely succeeds.
I mean, to sort of like a halfway point, because your points are valid, right? They're very valid. I would think something that would belong in the financial plan, that would then have to go, you know, the TA and advisory and the rest of the finance team would need to be putting in there, and that the select board would then be, you know, every 3-5 years, whatever the appropriate time period is, saying, okay, this is what we're going to be doing. Is this kind of, you know, we'll put it into the financial plan, so everybody starts getting aware that this is what we want to do. But also to April's point of, you know, people have very tight budgets. This is not an affluent community. And we have to be very, very careful about what we're doing. We're basically asking for a COLA, you know, in essence, is what we're doing by taking that approach. I am grateful for you putting it forward. I just don't see this actually going anywhere.
I have a question. Why is it that you're putting it forward now? Haven't you both sat on the advisory committee for years prior to? And why wasn't this something that was considered then?
I wrote it. I did not want to write it as a member of advisory and essentially vote on my own petition. I left advisory, gave me time to think, you know, about this and the other petitions. And I just think it's better, in the best interest of the town, is to present it this way, you know, let you deliberate. And also, you know, let, you know, other town officials, you know, discuss it without, one of the things I've always disliked is, you know, the potential of conflict of interest. It's just, especially in a small town, it's, you have to be very careful of conflict of interest, or, you know, the appearance of a conflict of interest. So, you know, that's why I'm presenting this as a private citizen and not as a member of advisory. And it's also something that I came to the conclusion is needed after, you know, several years of thinking on it.
Well, we are gonna have some seats available on the advisory committee.
I'm
I'd
done.
like for the two of you to consider it.
Haven't just been thinking about
But
We're looking for a clerk. Yeah, if anyone's
yeah,
interested.
anyone's interested. Yeah, and some of the signatures on this and a few of the other petitions were all past select board members. And to me, that's also concerning, because when they were part of the select board, they could have put that forward as changes in the financial plan. And not only that, but also as prior members of the select board, everybody should have known that this wasn't gonna fly. So, sorry, but yeah, thanks.
Right, would you,
If nothing else, it should be.
It's a good
considered.
conversation.
It should be considered.
Yeah.
So,
so you wanted to go to 31 now? Is that what you said?
yes.
Okay. Article 31? You give a little synopsis on that, Mr. Francis?
Yeah, I'll do it. I have spoken with, many, state officials and, many people, over the past, 3 or 4 years about the need to, increase unrestricted government aid. And, the response has always been, that essentially running into a brick wall. The state is doing what the state is going to do. And so I decided to create this as not a request, but a demand. And the way that this is written is that anybody can, write a notice of intent to sue, either within Templeton or out of Templeton. But what I have seen on a couple of occasions in the past within town government is that I have seen when there's been frustration with the legislature that there has been an effort to write a notice of intent to sue and circulate that among cities and towns that are affected by the particular item. And it's rather effective. So instead of just being one private citizen or one town of Templeton, if you have 30 or 50 or 80 cities and towns, it's much more effective. And the other reason for this is that Massachusetts, and I'm not gonna read everything in it, but I think the key point is that Massachusetts spends just 27% of their budget, the state budget, on cities and towns, local aid to cities and towns. And back just a few years ago, the amount was over 35%. They're giving a much higher percent. And particularly going back 40 years ago when Proposition 2.5 was first passed, during the first few years of Prop 2.5, the number was really, way over 35%. So the cities and towns were helped. What has happened is that Massachusetts at 27% of the revenues, going back to the cities and towns, that is one of the lowest rates in the entire country. So on one hand, you have Massachusetts collects more revenue than all but 6 or 7 states. And then they give it back to the cities and towns. They rank 39th or 40th. So they take in a lot of money and they give very little of the money back. And when you take into account since the year 2010, which is the Mass Municipal Association made a study on this, the amounts that the cities and towns have received every year has amounted to an increase of 0.6%. And this is why that we have, the problems that we have today.
Yep.
The state is not giving their fair share. Being the demand is, I want to emphasize that, anybody can create the notice of intent to sue. Anybody can serve those folks in hand. The town can decide to do it or not. There's no expense to the town, no expense whatsoever to the town. It's essentially asking, is this something that is important to you as a voter in the town? And I think it should be. I just don't see any other way of changing it.
I think that I agree with you. I think that the formulas are off. I think that they need to be updated. But so can you just summarize? So just in summary, like you're asking for the town to sue the state?
No.
What is your?
I'm asking that the town, pass this as a resolution to increase the amount of local aid by 25%, which is the amount that the Mass Municipal Association has said that all the cities and towns have been shortchanged. And that it also is a resolution that says if you don't do it in a year, then somebody's going to sue you. Not necessarily us, but somebody's going to sue you.
It's almost like a demand notice.
Yeah. It's exactly what it is, a demand notice.
I mean, the amount of lottery ticket sales outweighs the amount of money we can get back.
So you want the town of Templeton to send a demand notice to the state? That's what you're asking.
Well, the town of Templeton can decide,
Citizens to understand exactly what this means.
right,
What is the intent?
The-
Next step.
all right, the intent, and what I have been thinking of is, I've been talking with some of my attorney friends about this, and they're willing to bring the notice. And, I can also arrange for, the notice of intent to sue, to go out among, 100 cities and towns that are like Templeton, and I think that there would be responses, which would be votes, to join the notice of intent to sue. And then, once that is all gathered together, is just have that served in hand, to the governor, the lieutenant governor, the speaker of the House, the speaker of the Senate, our own representatives, and saying, you got a problem.
Yeah.
You need to pass legislation to solve the problem.
I think April's still looking for like, who's gonna do the work though? So you want the
Yeah.
advisory committee
Are
to
you
do
looking
this?
for the select?
I'm not looking for the town to do it.
That's-
I'm willing as a private citizen to, take on that burden. It's essentially a private petition.
So your
I'm just-
petition, you just want to speak to it on the floor to get people to rally behind you in your movement to send a
Right.
notice of intent to the state?
Right, that's correct. Is this something that you as a voter are willing to have the town, sign on to, should there be a notice of intent to sue?
But that would be a citizen making that notice of intent, not necessarily the owner.
Correct.
So I don't think that it necessarily falls within town meeting. Thoughts? Comment on the TV?
What's the comment?
Isn't it advisory policy to not do citizens petition?
We don't make recommendations on citizens petitions, so we're still within, we're just asking questions so that we're informing the public. It's a service that we provide so that when people show up to town meeting next week, they know what we're talking about.
And we're having a conversation with you.
We're not
so
making any
that-
recommendations on this, we're just getting blanket facts.
And I would add this is, even if it gets voted down, is, somebody, either myself or somebody else is going to, create a notice of intent to sue. And, this petition can be used as, a model.
No, I can't.
I just have found, I thought when I first came on advisory, and the reason why I did was, I thought the relationship, between the town and the state was dysfunctional, and the longer I served on advisory, the worse it is, and it gets worse, to me, it gets worse year by year. And so unless the town tries to do something to change the relationship,
I think this would have been a great conversation to have with our state reps when they were here a
Yeah.
couple of weeks ago.
Oh, we've had this.
I've had numerous conversations with them, trust me, I have, and it's essentially gone nowhere because
Well, Durant, so there was an initial, recently there was a bill put forward that Durant supported, did not, that was looking, and I can't remember the detail.
Rural development.
Rural, yeah.
I
rural-
shared that yesterday.
So, it's more than just the state. I realize Zlochnik is moving on to other things, right? But, I was very disappointed with how he voted after spending 2 hours in front of this committee saying, oh, we can't do anything, we can't get the votes, we can't get anything because we're in, we're part of the, I'll say the have-nots as opposed to the haves. And that we are, he used different terms, much more politically correct terms than me. But I was very disappointed. So, I'm like, oh, okay, I got what he said, I understood what he said, but it's like, dude, it's right here in front of you, vote for it, you're leaving office, so what difference does it make? Do it.
I think this
Yeah.
is a great thing that you guys are doing, and I agree
Yeah.
with you. And, as I've said before, people from the east are moving out here because the cost of living is so expensive out there. We can't keep up with the infrastructure. That's where our school issues are coming into play. There's so many things. So I definitely agree that something does need to be done.
Yeah, we are growing rapidly, and the fact that, when you combine all the resources, revenue resources in the town, we're benching almost at $50 million this town.
Yeah.
That's school, that's town, that's
Mhm.
light, water, sewer. If you combine all that resource, the amount of dollars is just under $50 million. So we are coming up to these larger numbers in this community. And having 8,500 plus folks, minus folks. I mean, and the stick-built homes are still being built, so it's not stopping.
Right.
So I don't foresee that in the near future. I just see more growth.
Mhm.
This is a veteran community, so more growth is gonna happen, and with more growth, more resources are needed. And that's where we're at. We're trying to look at every resource that we can, statewide as well as town, to see what resources that we can pull from, because if we don't start doing something now, it's gonna be worse next year and the year after that.
Our
If you,
infrastructure is already failing.
Yep.
We've got water mains breaking all over the place.
infrastructure, bridges, but you look at the capital assets and needs of the community. I mean, they're all, that's why the worth of the town is so much money. If you look at how much this town is actually worth on the capital level, I mean, it's worth a lot of money. And, we need to, start building that. And how are we gonna do that collectively together?
If I just may add, one more comment is that the town really overwhelmingly depends on property taxes, it's just.
And we've got to stop.
And the town, cities and towns cannot impose a local sales tax or a local income tax. There's been proposals to share the gasoline tax in the legislature, and it's gone nowhere. And each of those things, if they were implemented, would gain, at least $500,000 of revenue, right there. And, it's just, the state on the one hand doesn't let the towns do things outside of the property tax. But at the same time, they restrict the amount of aid, it doesn't keep up with inflation. So you're in a terrible box, and
So
nobody
you're
at the state
willing to
level.
Take this on, you're willing to move forward with this, and you're willing to rally the people behind you and get the attorneys behind you and things of that sort. You're not asking anything of the select board
No.
or the advisory committee.
Correct.
All right, what would you like to discuss next? Can we go back to 30?
I would please, briefly, the next item I would like to discuss will be Article 32,
Okay,
affordable housing.
7:32. It's been,
Just very briefly, I have spoken out at advisory meetings and other meetings about the need to communicate effectively with the state on the issue of affordable housing. This, a conversation needs to be had, with the state about affordable housing. I am very concerned that the Walter E. Fernald School, it is the only significant agricultural property for miles around. It's what's called a hilltop farm. And as an agricultural land, it is extremely valuable and becoming more valuable every day. And at the same time, we have numerous, properties that could be in tax title, properties in need of rehab. And how the affordable housing money should go towards that. The way it's structured now is Governor Healy could do what was done with a similar property in Mattapan. This property, similar in many ways the Fernald School, with the stroke of a pen, she created 500 units of affordable housing. And she could, we need to know as a town is, how many units of affordable housing, do you plan to create over time? That, I'm not aware of that. And so how many units of affordable housing, you know, what's gonna be done about the infrastructure? It would cost $5 million for the town to put town sewer, town water, the infrastructure. Where's that money gonna come from if she decided tomorrow to put 100 units or 200 units? I have no idea, and that's essentially an unfunded mandate. All this article asks is that, something be served in hand to the governor or a letter sent, and it's really a request, that we have a meeting, with the governor and Aaron Michalewicz, who's the chair of the House Ways and Means Committee, to come up with a plan, that works for both Templeton and the Commonwealth. I'm not against affordable housing. It's just, I'm just against the way that the state is proceeding with this.
Any questions or comments?
Do you want that?
No, you did it perfect.
Okay,
Is there questions or comments on the screen?
no.
Just as interesting play on that.
So again, you're gonna be writing this letter?
Yes.
Okay, moving on. Would you like to
The
discuss
next
this?
item, if I may, Madam Chair, would be the payment in lieu of taxes.
Yes.
Where's that going?
Where is that?
The Article 34.
Thank you.
That, and then
I got you.
the other one will be the function.
Yeah.
Right,
The 2 years ago, when Mr. Toth was chair of the Board of Selectmen, and Mr. Toth, Mr. Lamontagne, and myself, we had a Zoom meeting with State Auditor Diana DiZoglio. And quite candidly, I have found her to be the only state official, with real authority, who really cares about the cities and towns, including Templeton. And she really does. She's been a really strong advocate for us. And at that time, we asked her office to look into payment in lieu of taxes by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts on state-owned lands. And she actually followed through and did that. It took a couple of years for her to do that, but she published a report that came out in April of 2025, and it was called Pursuing Equitable State-Owned Land Reimbursements for Municipalities. And what the report outlined, it outlined the payment in lieu of taxes for not only Templeton, but every city and town in the state that receives pilot payments. And it was absolutely, I can only say that I was really, really very upset over that. And I think that all the residents of the town of Templeton should be very upset over that. And what I put in the article was a comparison between Templeton and West Tisbury. The Commonwealth pays pilot on, each town has about 2,400 acres of land. And the land in West Tisbury, which is part of Martha's Vineyard, the state pays out $547 in pilot. And for Templeton, there's only $60 paid out. So there's a discrepancy of over $1.3 million. And the report, if you look through the report, there are towns, mainly in Franklin County, that get as little as $5 an acre for property. There's one, Savoy, I think they get like $10 an acre for their property. And yet Plymouth, which has a similar amount of property, they get well over $400. It's called the Plymouth Savoy problem. And in my way of thinking, it's outrageous. And the reason, the basic reason is that what drives pilot is property tax values. Obviously land is worth more, 3 or 4 times more on Martha's Vineyard than it is in Templeton. But there, West Tisbury, Martha's Vineyard is receiving 8 times the value of land in Templeton, which is, far greater. And in addition to that, I didn't put it in the statement, but you should know that West Tisbury is building a high school. It's about to be approved. And the high school is it's $250 million that they're spending for the high school. And they are obtaining $81 million in school building assistance from the state, an amount equal to 8 times the annual budget of Templeton. So not only are they getting a lot of pilot money, they're getting all of this school building assistance money, which I thought was capped. I thought it was capped at $50 million. Apparently that cap has gone away. And it's, it's just, it's outrageous. It's really outrageous, which is why I brought the petition. The petition is a demand. So in other words, if the legislature does nothing, it'll be the notice to sue and the whole thing. I did talk with the legislative aide to Senator Peter Durant. And they were pretty outraged by it too. So what Senator Durant has decided to do is he has decided to file legislation, which I believe will either create a floor or try to make it more equitable. But either way, if that happens, if it actually passes, the town of Templeton would benefit. I have offered to go in and testify on behalf of that bill. I'd urge anybody else in town government to do that. Hopefully, I mean, things, good bills often stay in the legislature and they're studied for years and years, so I don't know what may happen. But what I intend to do is, if the bill gets killed, is that the notice of intent to sue would go out. And again, that would be at no expense to the town.
Any questions or comments?
So you're doing this yourself and you're looking for people to rally behind you?
This would be a huge revenue for the town.
Yeah, it would.
I understand that. I'm just asking to offer clarification to the public and the people watching.
Right, what are you asking of the town? You're bringing this to town meeting. What is it you want town meeting to do? I think what you're saying is you just want town meeting to support these actions, and that you can use this as a way of saying, hey, I took this to town meeting. They voted for it, and I think that's what you're trying
To create a record, whether it
Okay.
passes or not. Hopefully it passes, but the idea is to create a record that myself or somebody else or another city in town or another private citizen, is very flexible, to create a record, that where the entity bringing the notice can say, look, Templeton did this, 30 other towns did this, you need to do something about it.
And more discussion for the advisory committee as well as the board of selectmen. These are, you look for every stone for dollars. These are stones that have not been
Yeah.
turned over yet.
And I don't think any one of us is disagreeing with that. I think, I'll personally say I'm very much in support of doing this. I don't see the state doing enough for this part of the state. Everything's,
195 built in, no, I
Yeah.
get it.
yeah, and we don't get what is needed out here. There isn't an understanding of the needs of the communities out here. And, and not only that, but I think we're all within the Quabbin, water. Watershed. Thank you, watershed, yes, people fill in words for me.
Well,
and so,
I'm glad you brought that up.
because
Yeah.
it's things that affect what we can and can't do in our community that benefits Boston directly.
Well, I
Arlington,
Arlington, Chatham.
I hope I didn't interrupt you.
No, you
But
didn't.
you hit on a point that I really wanted to make as well. Joanne Comerford, who is the state senator from Northampton, she is trying to value lands and value other things based upon not the property tax, which is really unfair, which is really why you have the huge difference between Templeton and West Tisbury, is because the property taxes are, the difference is huge. But her measure would be, measure the difference in lands, for pilot and for other things based on the intrinsic value of the land. Where Templeton's land would probably be more valuable than the land of Martha's Vineyard, precisely because it protects the Quabbin watershed.
Mhm.
And that has not been factored into the value, and it should be.
It definitely should be. So it's those kinds of things that this part of the state have, whether it's that, it's hiking, it's
Open space.
open space, it's all of the community things, it's all the forestry things, it's all of those things that, all of our green space that is in all sorts of different forms, that, bears walking through yards, there's.
Exactly.
This was one of the first things I mentioned to the representative and the senator when they came a couple weeks ago. And they didn't really have much to say, other than that I asked if the pilot commission was being formed, and they said maybe, or they would, yeah, or
I
yes.
applied to that last October, and I've not heard a peep. And I think really the governor is afraid of this issue, because it really is explosive, and it could be a lot of money, and
And the governor has other places, the governor would rather spend it than here.
So
They have
this is all
priorities,
that's
for
on
sure.
our warrant, so that you can be heard, so that you can express your concerns, so that it's on the record, not necessarily for anybody to act on.
Well,
Makes
they'll take a
sense.
financial aspect of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All right,
I believe the next one.
do you want to do 30?
I believe it's the open meeting law.
Yep, 30,
No.
which is Article 33.
I'll summarize that very, very quickly. I've made the point several times, the governor and, the courts and, the legislature are exempt from the open meeting law. And in other states, they are held accountable under the open meeting law. And this has harmed, not only Templeton, but all the cities and towns in one way or another. There is a real need for the legislature in particular to have to comply with the open meeting law. Because the process, a couple of years ago, I placed into the record for anybody to read. It was an article that appeared, a magazine article about a Sierra Club person who was lobbying on behalf of environmental legislation, and he felt that he had the entire legislators behind him. And then you learned that the speaker was not interested in it, so it got killed. And it got killed behind closed doors. So he outlined what the process is, and the process in Massachusetts is not only unique, it's terrible. And Massachusetts, the legislature consistently ranks either 49th or 50th in terms of being open and transparent. And, one of the things is, there's been talk about, SNAP or food stamp abuse in Minnesota. Well, the amount that is unaccounted for, the percentage is 13% in Massachusetts, which is astounding. It should be less than 1/2 of 1%. And I think the allegations may be serious enough that maybe people should be taken away in handcuffs. But the process is terrible. There's the only public input that there is testimony, then all the deliberations are behind closed doors. And I think your husband, Mr. Toth, he testified against on behalf of the Gun Owners Action League about the most recent Massachusetts gun law that was passed. I looked at Goal's website at the time, to see how that was proceeding through the legislature. And although I take a different position from Mr. Toth on Second Amendment issues, there is a matter of fairness. And what the legislature did with that bill was absolutely atrocious. They changed the committees. There were at least 3 different committees that heard that bill in both the House and the Senate. There were hearing dates that were canceled at the last minute. There were hearing dates scheduled on a Friday afternoon when nobody was around. It was just outright abuse. And the only reason why that was even brought to light is because Goal is a big organization with paid people able to track it. So if you had an ordinary person with a bill and these things happen, this shuffling, you have no recourse. You can't spend the money to track it. It's horrible. It really is horrible. And so that's why the open meeting law, going hand in hand with the effort to audit the legislature, which you were aware has been stonewalled. It's just another thing. It's a demand as well.
We asked about the audit and he said that people would be disappointed in what they're looking to audit. It's not necessarily the funding.
No, he's talking the state audit.
Yeah, there was a
Yeah,
state
yeah.
audit. When the reps were here, we spoke to the audit. I had asked what was going on with the audit.
There is no-
Why wasn't it moving
There's no
forward?
audit. Being sued.
And when they have the audit, and you know, there has been a suit, there was a suit by the head of the Republican, state Republican Party. And it got tossed straight away on the basis of standing, which is really the way courts use to say, you know, go away, no matter how good your claim is, go away. Because they interpret it as, you know, only a very narrow group of people can sue, which is essentially the leadership of the legislature. That's pretty much what the court said. It's you know, the legislature should be audited, and it should be audited by Diana DiZoglio and not by an audit firm picked by the leadership. You know, that to me is a real problem.
And they should have to follow the same open meeting laws that we all do.
That's right, because I mean, you can be assessed thousands of dollars in you know, in fines by the ethics committee for not posting your meeting right, or for accidentally locking the door, which is what I did when you know, my first you know, meeting as chairperson. You know,
It was an accident.
it was an accident, but you know, you're still exposing yourself to that.
So this citizens petition, again, you're just looking to write a letter, you're just looking to make it known, you're looking to express your concerns during our town meeting.
Correct.
All right,
And I would emphasize again, no expense to the town.
And you'll be speaking to all these at the town meeting, I assume.
Yeah.
all right, and lastly is the 30, Article 30 that you have? That the last one, right?
Yep.
Got
I think what I would like to start with, you know, this is a concern that perhaps Mr. Caplis could talk about, but it's also a concern that I share is in looking through the warrant articles, is I was under the understanding that there was to be a $2 million override and a $4 million override. And what I wanted to ask was the status of, you know, of those.
Do you want to take your one?
I mean, it's happened, like, they're talking about it now, aren't they?
Yeah, they're talking about it now. I can speak to, yeah. I know that they have gone line by line. I know that there's monies, yeah. They're cutting the budget line by line right now. They're actually still working on it. We don't have a concrete plan here tonight to discuss with you. They will be speaking to it though.
At last notice from Thursday's meeting, there was no plan or discussion of the $4 million. I don't even know if that's even being discussed, because that could really just be like a pipe dream that will never come to fruition. It was really just the $2 million that was like ironed out, what would be added back, and what would not be added back. And it didn't sound like all of the $2 million, if that were to pass, was to be allocated out the gate, that it was going to be used for future problems.
Well, this
Yeah.
this is my
So,
concern.
There's
Oh,
2 million.
yeah.
So the select board, from everything I've heard in the meetings, is they're proposing 2 different numbers. A $2 million override and a $4 million override. And as far as if the $2 million override passes a portion, they would then look to fund the school at 2.5%. If there's no override, the school is level funded from last year. And that has been, they've been very public about that. And that they spent the last select board meeting going through that. First, they may have finished it the one before, where they finished what all the cuts were if there was no override. They spent the last select board meeting looking at what can they put back, right? And they were able to put a lot of it back based on a $2 million override passing. Now, the other thing that the select board chair, Jeff, said was that if the $4 million override passes, they would not be looking to spend that $4 million out the gate. That they'd basically take the levy from here it is, no override, and it would bring it up to here, but they'd still only be spending at a lower level than the 4 million. Did that make sense? You look confused, so maybe I didn't explain that well.
What I have a problem with, and perhaps Mr. Caplis can elaborate on it, is that the warrant articles that you are considering is that once you adjourn, if those two items are not added, then there's no way to get it on the annual town meeting warrant.
It's on the warrant.
It's not on that warrant.
Which article numbers are they?
Yeah,
Am I missing something?
yeah, it's on the warrant. There's a 2.5 override on the warrant.
Yeah, right.
There is a
I didn't see it.
I didn't need it.
I didn't see it.
consent agreement,
No,
substance
There's
clause.
no,
I didn't see it.
no, I didn't either.
The only override warrant is the citizens petition.
Yeah.
I think that was.
if the warrant has been closed,
The warrant was closed, right?
No, it was definitely on. It was definitely on the warrant.
I looked at it this weekend a lot and I didn't see it there, so.
Yeah, I looked at it and I didn't see it, and I thought. I thought that there would be, perhaps a placeholder.
There was, I mean, even that there was even a few social media posts about the fact that,
Yeah.
that the warning, that the wording of it was not. The poster didn't think the wording was correct, so it was definitely there.
I don't, let me know what number it was. I can.
Yeah, I'm looking for it now. Reports, acceptance funding, capital improvements. Cause I even pulled it, over the weekend. It was there. So I don't know what this version is sitting in front of me.
The one that's online, which is the one I looked at all weekend. A lot. And this one I think is the same and it's not. I mean,
It's not,
Right, I mean,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Caplis and myself looked at it.
Yeah.
We looked at what was online,
statement. Title. And attention. Because it was there. It's like I said, somebody in social media was concerned about the wording. And it was not your petition specifically. Would be near the front and it's. Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, they've spoken to them numerous occasions.
Yeah, but I hadn't seen it on the warrant either.
right, I just, and I'm not trying to embarrass you.
No, yeah, well, it's
I'm
not
I'm
embarrassing
trying
at
to
all.
do it. We're embarrassed.
We didn't make the warrant, so you're not embarrassing us.
I understand that, but to me, this is a very significant matter, because what you were considering tonight, the pre-town meeting, the idea of it is to consider every single item on the warrant.
Right.
Which it was, and I'm assuming that every single warrant article is what's on the town website and what is
Yep.
printed before you. And I guess, you now run into what I view, what I view as a significant problem of timing. To get the 2 million and the 4 million
Yeah.
item on the warrant.
No,
Because
it's not
because
weird.
once you adjourn,
Yeah.
the only thing, that can lawfully go in front of the voters would be what is printed.
Right. Which is what was online. And
And Madam Chair, I'm gonna, if it's all right, I'm gonna look through social media just to see if I can find that post.
Please,
to find the-
absolutely. Yeah, let me know what you come up with.
So for everybody in the audience, that's all I'm doing. Because it was there.
I looked at it a lot this weekend. I didn't see it and
I looked at it too and I didn't see it.
I looked at it.
So,
The two major functions of, obviously, the committee is obviously the warrant, which is the hugest one, obviously then the watchdog for the budgetary responsibilities here in town, so, I didn't see it, so I don't know how with the timing, the way it is,
Yeah.
how that's gonna come into play.
it
Because the
had
other,
very valid points.
because the other item is unfortunately you were running out of time and have
Yes.
Right.
time constraints and, so.
You got it?
I'll get that warrant up for town meeting, I don't know if that's of any substance.
that's what this is.
That's just the citizen petitions of this.
Yeah, okay, so I think it's Article 27. Doesn't say 2.5 override. As such, it says general fund operating OpEx budget to see if the town will vote to raise an appropriate sum of money for the operation of the general government for fiscal year FY 27 or take any other action there
I
too.
think that's the overall budget, the operating budget, not
Okay.
the override,
All
which
right,
again, even that, I mean, I know.
yeah,
I know that based on the guidelines of the law, they can, meaning the select board can, not put a number in. It's,
Yeah.
they can't.
I think that was their intent, to be honest with you, and I think they're gonna speak to it.
Okay, so they would have to amend
yes,
Yes.
on the floor,
yes, that's the intent.
okay?
That is the intent.
I mean, because I've never seen, without a number.
There were the two options, they were gonna speak to.
Because they would have to, I mean, because then they would have to come up with the number for the town, which, you know, which should be around 23 million, give or take some dollars total. The plus the adding of the potential override of a 2 and a 4 million.
Mhm.
So instead of the 23, they're either gonna go, 25 point something or 26 point something. Is that how I'm understanding that?
It's so they have, that's the article that they're gonna be using. Is that Article 27 for the general fund. And, based on what it was said,
I don't know, that's
Yeah.
the question. I don't know if they can do that or not,
yeah,
because that would be a different, that would be a separate,
that went to town council. Town council gave them that.
yeah, for the,
Right.
for the budget, yeah, but I.
No, for the override. I mean, it's a valid question, a valid concern.
So then where's the budget then? Where's the dollars for? The dollar amount for the fiscal year budget? Not in,
Okay. All right,
that's why
Yeah.
we're asking.
yeah, no, I get it.
And then with the citizens petition, I mean, then that would. Whatever happens on that would just nullify, Noel's position as a citizens petition.
Sat with looking at your citizens petition, I was wondering why that was. I'm gonna be honest with you, I kind of felt as though. You're overstepping the select board's. Decision to do the 2 million and the 4 million by your citizens petition. And I was
We
thinking,
filed it before,
That
was even aware of it.
And then we were told that it was, the town council fixed it. And then when I saw the warrant, it was in there, I'm like, oh, how is it in the warrant?
Next,
Your
Your-
Article
your-
30?
Yes,
that's what I
it
was,
said it didn't meet the legal, parameters because it wasn't brought by the select board, because they're the only ones that can do it.
That's not the impression that I was under. also.
That was what I was
Yeah.
told. And then when I saw it, I'm like, what that.
Yeah, I thought you were, I felt as though you were undermining them by doing this when they had already.
That was not my intent.
That was, it was way before that happened, because we wanted to make sure that there was even more discussion concerning with the way the inflation is and what's happening now with the community and the growth of the community and why, you know,
We wanted to put this, I'm speaking for myself, but we wanted to put it on the table if nothing else.
right, because what people don't realize today is, I mean, I'm not an attorney by no means, he is, but looking at this community as a whole, there's so much risk that we take every single day. And if we keep putting ourselves in future, you know, potential future litigation and lawsuits against the community because of not doing what we're supposed to be doing. For an example, I'll use police and I'll use fire for example. So police, you know, you know, with the staffing that they have, or if it gets reduced or whatever happens with the budget, and the dollars. If there's a domestic at 2 o'clock in the morning and someone gets killed, who becomes liable? Unfortunately, the town does.
I'd like to speak to that in
Sure.
regards to your concerns with the state funding
Mm.
and then your citizen petition here. I understand what you're saying here, but as we spoke to earlier, the select board have gone line by line. They've added back positions. They have the override in hand. And in regards to the school funding, like I've said at other meetings, it's the states, the way that their formulas, they're outdated. Year after
100%.
year, what we're having to do as a town is cut our essential employees. No, and we can no longer do that. And as you're stating, we can no longer afford to do that because we're putting our town at risk.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
we're in-
what are we gonna
we're in full
do?
agreement.
Are we gonna keep doing overrides, taxing the folks to fund the school budget? Or do we let the school go to a 1/12 budget, get the state's attention, because it's not the only school that's gonna go to a 1/12 budget.
No.
And have them come in and do the formula over again? Is that what's gonna get their attention? I asked our reps this question, and I'm sorry, I'm not getting upset with you guys, but I'm very
Oh.
passionate about this because I'm sick and tired of cutting our town's essential employees and our budgets to fund the school. We can no longer afford to do it. And that's the message that we sent loud and clear to the school.
What I would ask you is just go research Rutland versus Quabbin.
They're having problems themselves.
Yeah, and this happened a few years back, 4 or 5 years back, and they went to a 1/12 budget. Deputy came in. And Rutland had to pay twice.
But what is Desi gonna say? We've been overfunding the school for years. Last
Yeah.
year, we gave them over. This year, they came in asking for even more. What are we gonna do? Do an override, give them their funding? Next year, be in the same position that we're in this year? I think we need to send a message.
But I think
24%, 24.5% increase from the school year over year. They have not done their due diligence like the select board has done this year. They haven't gone through it. And what they do is they take a scare tactic approach to say, oh, we're gonna cut this, this, and this, and this. You know, I went out to Copilot, right? And you went, all right, if I was, and I described our school system. And what it came back for a game plan is exactly what they did. And so it's like, it's out there. That's what you do, because what do? Right? Just like you want to fund something, you make it, what's in it for the residents of the community? What's in it for them? And what's in it for them, for the parents, is not only properly educating the students, but it's also looking at those areas that these people call themselves educational professionals. And what do they want to cut? They want to cut the early grades, and they want to cut the MVP program that they just got through going, woohoo, isn't this great and wonderful, right? And they haven't gone through line by line saying, we'll take 500 from here, 1,000 from there to make it work. Why don't they do it? Because it's in the school's best interest not to. That is my personal opinion, and I'm sorry for anybody out there who's going to get upset with me for this. I think the town does need to properly educate and fund the school district. My belief is that in that funding, it needs to be reasonable. The school knows we can only do a 2.5% increase every year. What did they have? 24%, 24.46%. All right, now you look at Phillipston. Phillipston has come in and said that they're only gonna fund 2.5 over last year's. Right, so no matter what Templeton does, if we don't do a 2.5 to meet theirs, we're gonna be in those wonderful meetings all summer long to come up with a figure. The last school committee meeting, they would not even entertain the possibility of lowering their certified budget. So what does that tell me as a person? That tells me they're not in it for the right reasons. They're not in it for the educational reasons. And at this point, the school's budget is going to be larger within the next year or two than the combined towns' budgets, the Templeton and Phillipston. It's got to stop somewhere. And they have not gone through and justified every single position.
If I may, the long-term problem and the long-term solution is, if you have just two towns, one town contributes 85% and the other town contributes 15%. And the ideal is you really should have, and I've had conversations with state officials and, other people about this. The ideal number of towns is 5, 3 large towns, 2 smaller towns is quite often the model. So you have that right in your backyard. If we combined with Winchendon and Athol Royalston and the additional, the present school district, you'd have 5 towns, 3 larger towns, 2 smaller towns. And Templeton's contribution would be probably no more than 25% of any increases rather than 85%. If today we were trying to create the Narragansett Regional School District and apply to DESI, they would reject the application because of the imbalance. They would reject it, I'm sure, outright. So, the problem is of structure. And really, in my mind, the long-term solution is, to try to make the district larger in some way, to lower your costs. What?
The schools are busting at the seams as it is.
You already have 20 to 22 children per classroom. I mean, Fitchburg has upwards of 30 and it doesn't go well. If we add more students into the buildings we already have, we have no room.
And we don't even have a regional.
Adding towns does not mean necessarily adding, students to the classrooms in Narragansett. It could mean, and it would probably start out as an administrative, one administrator, for all the districts rather than the present 3.
And you're right, and there's been other talk about this as well, and I wanna not correct Noel, because he's always pretty smart. 85% is what we contribute, plus, don't forget the debt of the $1 million a year we pay for the school. So.
In the outdated regional agreement, they're not paying for their preschoolers or their elementary school students to attend the Templeton school.
Yep.
They're not willing to come to the table to speak to that regional agreement,
100%.
so.
And it's still not
It's
on
just
there.
gonna keep overpaying, that, you know what I mean, like, we're done, let it go to a 112 budget. We have already paid above and beyond, let the state come in, what are they gonna do? They're gonna look and they're gonna be like, they've been giving you more than the minimum contribution every year.
Yeah.
What do you want from us?
Yeah, when I first got on the select board many years ago, and when I met with all the state folks in the DOR, and DESI, it was we paid the minimal or below minimal so many years ago. And then by the time it caught up to us, we had to pay more for some reason. I'm like, what? So how does that work? So we paid less, say in 2010, 11, 12, but now that we're in 2016, we have to pay more, and we have been paying more.
We have.
been.
Last year, I'll give you a perfect example.
Yeah.
Our minimum contribution was $5,912 to, and 900, wait,
Thank you.
5,912,287. And and last year, we paid them 8,787,299.
Yep.
So we're paying well above our minimum contribution. And in doing so, we are cutting our police department, we're cutting our fire department, we're cutting our staffing here at town hall, we're cutting our DPW. We can't do it anymore.
Right.
That's why I think going to a 1/12 budget would get the state's attention, make them come in, make them do the adjustments, recalculate their formulas, because they're off all over the state, not just the town of Templeton.
And there's gonna be enough of them all over the state that isn't gonna want to come in and deal with little old Narragansett. You know, they're not gonna want to. They're gonna tell us to go work it out. And
That's
that,
what they've already told us.
which they already have.
Yeah.
And I mean, just you look at what the income sheet is for Narragansett for this year, for FY 27. All right, the minimum Templeton contribution is $6,249,750. What they wanted for additional appropriation was $3,645,635. $635, excuse me.
I saw that.
I
Okay.
remember sitting on that February multi-board meeting and looking at the select board and the advisor members, and we all had the same like glazed over look as they talked about their $3 million number.
And so they're going from 6.2 million and adding an additional 3.6 million. You know, that's over 50% of what the minimum is above. You know, that just does not make sense. They have not done their due diligence. They have not sharpened their pencil. And until somebody says to them, enough, stop, they're going to continue doing that. Now, yes, we need to educate the kids. Yes, we have kids that need additional help and need additional services, right? There's got to be a way of doing this.
The school is not a department of the town of Templeton.
Mhm.
They're their own entity,
Yeah.
and I think a lot of people are forgetting that.
They just sent us the bill.
Every year, the school comes to us and wants more and more money. All these other department heads are coming to us saying, well, we can cut this. We don't really want to, but we can. The school has never done that. The school's posting on Facebook scare tactics to the townspeople because as a normal adult would do, they say, oh, it's for the kids. We want to help the kids out. I think everybody in this room
We've helped the
wants
kids
to help
out
our youth.
year after year. We don't, it's not that we don't want to help the kids out.
It's just gonna get worse, and we're gonna get to a point where we're spending more money on the school than every other department combined, and until it stops, it's just gonna keep spiraling. The fire department, for example, their budget, it goes up every year, it's inflation. Everything goes up in the world, but that's expected. The schools just, they throw a number together and say, hey, this is it. If you don't do it, we're gonna.
And we have union contracts that we
Yeah.
need to meet too.
Yeah.
So in order to do that this year, we had to go line by line. I haven't seen the school do that.
All right, so is there any other questions or comments on Article 30 so we can get back to
Yeah,
You guys have been
get-
great. Thank you so
getting
much.
back to, because it's already 8:30 and we still have
yeah.
so many more.
If, hopefully, something is on as alternatives, what I would hope, is that what goes, for an election, to the ballot box, is just one proposal with one number that's agreed upon and thrashed out at the annual town meeting. That's what I would hope. And I'd also say, many of the things in the citizens petition, that I wrote, they're really, particularly with the police and the fire, and the economic planner, is that there are things that the town needs to do and their targets. That we should arrive at over a period of time, sometime in the next 3 to 5 years. We're getting too big. We need.
We know that. We know that.
We know
That's why we pulled back on the school.
And not only that, but in the $2 million override, putting money back in, one of the things that the select board did was put in a spot for a planner / grant writer.
Yes.
Right, so, and it was more money than what had been in there previously. So it's not that the town isn't doing that. They are looking to do that. They need the $2 million.
Need.
They, yeah,
Yes.
it's also needs versus wants, right? Even though there are certain members in the fire department that aren't very happy with me at the moment, there are the safety issues for them, 2 in, 2 out, being able to do everything, right? One of the other things, not only with looking at the regional school district It's really regionalizing a fire district, because you don't need a ladder in every single town. You don't need, there's a lot of things that you don't need. You know, and I'm just making up numbers here. If you've got 10 cities, towns, right? You may only need 5 ladders across them, right? And so that's another ways, it doesn't help us right now, but that's something that we need to look at in the future. It works really well out west. And I mean west as in the western part of the United States, you know, so.
We just gotta be cautious, because our homeowners insurances are covered, the rates are covered based on the services that we are providing with certain apparatus that we have in our communities, because insurance companies do look at that, and rates will go up. If we didn't have a ladder truck, rates would go up.
Our state reps, they've come in, they spoke to exactly what Liz just said.
Yeah.
We have to look into it.
We definitely.
We have to.
Right, but they may not go up to. You know, I'll guarantee somebody who lives in the center of town who has water, right? Trying to come out to my house to be able to fight a fire at my house, I'm going to have a cellar hole. That is what I'm going to have. We know that that's what we're going to have, because the water doesn't come all the way out there. We're on a dead end road. They're going to have to do all sorts of stuff.
That's why the tanker was so important.
And they put it in, they bought a smaller tanker.
I didn't know that.
They replaced it with a smaller tanker.
Great.
Yes,
What
exactly.
good is it if we don't have people to man them?
That's right.
Right. And we do, right? We do need people to man them. But go from Templeton Center to my house is at least 7.5 minutes. To come from across town, it's 20 minutes. You know, so, and I'm just one example,
I understand.
you know, and
I think we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
And I do appreciate your time.
Thank you.
and,
Thank you for
listening to these,
coming. And explaining these articles. I'm hoping that your time here has informed residents who will be attending town meeting, and
Yeah, I wish there were more people here tonight and.
well, hopefully people are listening, and the purpose of pre-town is, you know, to get explanations of these articles for the residents.
Having more information is more powerful than
Yep.
anything.
Yeah.
Because again, we all want to be as transparent as we possibly can, so everybody knows.
And we're trying to educate the community. We're trying different approaches. Like, I really hope that you guys see that
What we do.
and take that into consideration.
That's why we're all here on the same team. We're all trying to do the same thing, and that's obviously make this Templeton community a great community, a better community, you know what I
And
mean?
again, I just want to reiterate, it's not that I don't support the school and
I
the
know.
children. I do.
Oh, I
At
know.
what cost?
Oh, I know you do. I see your sponsorships.
Thanks.
if I
Thank
may,
you so much.
if I'm asking, do you know, do you get numbers now for number of people watching? Or is that only once it's done?
We get number for people who are watching live, and then tomorrow morning is when more people will watch. Like right now, 18 people are watching.
Okay.
Okay.
Does this show, people who do channel 8 who live in town, or is that just
No,
YouTube?
That's just YouTube.
Okay.
Okay, so moving
Thank you
on.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks.
Okay, Article 10.
Article 10, I guess I'm moving. Do the Article 10.
I'm sorry, I'm passionate about that.
Oh, we all are. All right, Article 10, CPA funding for open space and recreation plan, to see if the town will vote to appropriate the sum of $32,000 from the CPA open space reserve account for the below mentioned project as follows. Item agent to expand, open space committee, amount 32,000, purpose OSRP. OSRP stands for Open Space and Recreation Plan. The CPA fund source is 32,000 from open space. The little blurb says, provide funding to the Templeton Open Space Committee to create an open space and recreation plan for Templeton. Any funds made available through the grants and other activities shall reduce the CPA expenditure accordingly. Public benefits of an open space and recreation plan include qualifying for funding, planning for conservation and recreation, and protecting natural resources, or take any other action related thereto, submitted by the select board on behalf of the Community Preservation Committee, majority vote required.
All right, did you have something on that one? Article
No.
10? No?
Yeah.
Any other,
No comment.
no comments? Right, is long. Article 11.
Starts at the bottom of the page.
That's where I'm looking. Article 11, acceptance of clause 37A exemption for blind persons. To see if the town will vote to accept the provisions of Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 59, Section 5, clause 37A as amended relative to the increased real estate tax exemption for legally blind persons who meet the established ownership and residency requirements or take any other action related thereto submitted by the select board on behalf of the Board of Assessors. Have I have a comment from the Deputy Assessor Justice Graves, Article 11. This is to ask the town to change statutes so legally blind persons can be granted a $500 tax exemption on their real estate tax. The current amount is $437.50. This would amount to an estimated $375 in additional funds the town would be using from the overlay, which represents an increase of about 0.34%, an increase in abatements exemptions granted when compared to FY 2026. There's also a chart in your packet. These are things in your packet. From Justice.
Yes.
There it is. So he says the total estimate for overlay as if changes were adopted would be $3,000. Any other questions or comments?
I agree with Justice and I do like his amendment.
Hmm?
I agree with Justice and I do like his amendment.
Yes, me too.
Okay, moving on to Article 12. Liz, you wanna read?
Yes. Yes, I will. All right. So Article 12, the exemption amount, cost of living adjustment clause 17D for certain seniors, surviving spouses and minors. To see if the town will vote to increase the cost of living adjustment as provided by the Department of Revenue to the fiscal year 2027 amount of 2.7% that may be used to increase the exemption granted certain senior citizens, surviving spouses and minors under MGL Chapter 59, Section 5, Clause 17D, which statute was accepted by the town and voted on May 3rd, 1999, the annual town meeting, Article 17, or take any other action related thereto, submitted by the select board on behalf of the Board of Assessors, majority vote required.
So in the packet of Justice, it says, this is to ask the town to increase the exception amount for eligible clause 17D seniors by the percentage determined by the Department of Revenue. The percentage for FY 27 is 2.7%. Meaning this article seeks to increase the amount per exemption from $311 to $319. The increase is rounded to the nearest whole dollar. This would amount to an estimated $200 in additional funds the town would be using from the overlay, which represents an increase of about 0.18%. Increase in abatement exemptions granted when compared to FY 26. The last time an adjustment was made to this was back in 2014. So the total estimate for overlay, if the changes were adopted, would be $7,975.
Mhm. Can I just make a general comment?
Yep.
That I think these things are all of these things needed for like Article 11, Article 12. And then Article 13 also. Assuming that the $2 million override passes, there are parts of this community that would benefit from some of these things. It's not a huge amount of money, but it might help them a little bit. I don't know what the rules are for what they can get and what they can't get. Justice could definitely speak to that. Oh, yeah. Oh, actually, we have the shine person. Is that okay with you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, if I remember, there was a meeting where Justice presented a multi-year program to increase that amount.
Mhm.
And obviously it was very carefully planned and gradually increased the amount for seniors because the overlay account is just sitting there otherwise,
Mhm.
doing nothing. That's what I understand.
Okay, thank you, because there's 38%, I may not have the percentage right, of the homeowners residents in the town that are considered low income. And so anytime we talk about an override, it's always very concerning to
Yes.
me as to balancing the needs of taking care of those folks and and helping them stay in their homes. You know, and what we can do to help that situation, to mitigate the, you know,
Right, and increasing other housing alternatives also. Yes, no.
very helpful. So I'm in support of actually all three of these. So,
And I do see a lot of lower income people, and they absolutely need help.
you know, and may not be a lot across everything, but every little bit.
Yeah.
So the note is, I guess that these things would help those that
Most in need.
that are, thank you, perfect wording. Most of
Okay.
it, so.
Any other comments?
I agree. I think it is definitely needed. I think that the increases are long overdue. So it's a yes.
Am I doing,
Okay, what was that, 12?
that was 12.
Okay.
All right. 13, exemption amount adjustment to clause 41C for certain seniors. To see if the town will vote to adjust the exemption amount by 25% to $625 for the property tax exemption for senior citizens under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 39, Section 5, Clause 41C, to be effective for exemptions granted in any fiscal year beginning on or after July 1st, 2026, or take any other action related thereto, submitted by the Select Board on behalf of the Board of Assessors, majority vote required.
Okay, so Justice's comment was, this is to ask the town to increase the amount of the exemption for eligible clause 41C seniors from $500 to $625. This would amount to an estimated $4,750 in additional funds the town would be using from overlay, which represents an increase of about 4.3. Increase in abatements, exemptions granted when compared to FY 26. This amount for seniors has never been changed since the town adopted this particular statute.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yep.
For the voters, guide,
Yep.
that we just use these three
Yep.
things?
Yep, it's in my little,
Okay, well, they're really good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Justice.
any other questions, comments? Concerns?
No.
Okay, moving on to Article 14. Article 14, senior work off abatement. To see if the town will vote to amend its vote under Article 27 of the May 16th, 2012 annual town meeting as amended by Article 4 of the May 13th, 2017 annual town meeting by making certain deletions, strike-throughs, and additions bold as shown below. The senior tax work-off program for taxpayers over 60 years of age shall provide what is struck out a maximum abatement of $500, which is struck out, and then in bold would be added, not to exceed the maximum abatement allowable under general law 59, section 5,000,
5K. It is,
5K.
it's actually lower.
Okay, that the statute may be amended for each participant, and then what is strike through is earned at an hourly rate as the select men shall from time to time set as the minimum wage of the town in compliance with the statute. And then in bold, it says, upon such terms as the select board may establish in compliance with general law C 59, section 5K, said abatements to be paid from the assessor's overlay account. And to apply the change in allowable abatement amount to the fiscal year 2028 tax bill, actual tax bills, or take any action they are related to, submitted by the select board majority vote required. That sounds like it's just rewording,
Interpreting. Yeah,
rewording.
The other thing it does is it takes it from $500, which is what it currently is set at, to, I believe it's $2,000 is the max. And it's based on and the hourly rate is set at the minimum wage, which is $15 an hour right now. So for anyone wondering what this does is that you meet certain criteria and the town needs to have certain number of jobs available that you can qualify for. I don't know what the process is personally. I don't know if our Shine person knows.
Well, I did do this one year and I offered to do it again. But the process is the town has jobs that people could do. And if he works 37 hours, you could get $500 off your taxes.
Yeah.
My only complaint was that I feel I had more skills than shredding. So there has to be equitable jobs, and then, you know, there must be a project that people would like done. Or instead of filing or shredding, and because all these seniors, they have another life, they lived, you know, and have other talents that we know nothing about.
I think when the seniors come forward, maybe if they can mention what they
Yeah, what-
specialize in,
Right.
that
And
would
you know, it's
definitely.
not necessarily jobs at town hall, you
Right.
know, you could, I don't know, help with the cemetery or something like that, you know, little other things. But that's,
Mowing the lawn up at the rec field.
yeah,
Wait.
yes.
Lowering and raising the flags.
Yeah, exactly.
So coming up with actual job descriptions and what potential jobs there could be aside from just shredding, filing, stuff like that would make.
Yes.
It has to be more clear guidelines on what jobs are actually offered.
I think so,
I 100% agree with that.
you know, I rejected the offer because I can do more.
Right.
You know, and I'm sure other people can too. You know, there was one guy at the senior center and he wrote, engineered the plans for the kitchen. You know, and that was wonderful.
Yeah.
You know, people have talents that we don't know about.
So anyways, the purpose of that is to up it from 500 to 2,000.
That's wonderful.
The select board has over the past year and a half or so kind of talked about what you just mentioned was having the right kind of jobs and matching people to the right kind of
Yes.
their skill set to what's required in town and going back and forth. And there were some conversations the select board has had about maybe moving that over to the senior center to be able to manage. That's a select board call, that's a select board, whatever, but that they've had those conversations in some of the meetings,
Yeah.
so.
And I think that's a very, very wise decision, that 2,000 would help tremendously.
So
My
that's,
only question and concern is what it would do to the overlay account.
Like I said, Justice presented a multi-year plan.
To ease into it.
using the overlay, otherwise it's just not going down. You know, and it's
Yeah.
just sitting there.
Like Justice has explained the overlay account to us a few times, and there's reasons why there's so much of it, because there's so much unknown. And especially if things go into like foreclosure, and so there's, there's, the padding is there for emergency
Yes.
type services, not like,
I think he did a 5-year plan.
You did.
So,
okay. On to number 15.
all right. Prudent Article 15, investment rule, to see if the town will vote to accept the provision of GL Chapter 44, Section 54B, to allow town trust funds to be invested in accordance with GL Chapter 203C, the so-called prudent investment rule, or take any other action related thereto submitted by the select board, majority vote required.
Anybody have any comments on that?
Wasn't this part, I think it was of the DOR corrective action? To earn more interest on the accounts that we're holding here. You know, you might not be using the money right now, but invest it in higher earnings.
Yes, it was a recommendation by the DOR.
So I think that's our comment. So, thank you. Takes a village. Oh. Oh my goodness.
I think. Article 16, I can read that in. Sorry. It's written down. Article 16, tax title collection revolving fund. To see if the town will vote to accept the provisions of the Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 60, Section 15B, which authorizes the establishment of a tax title collection revolving fund for the purposes of paying expenses incurred by the tax treasurer collector in connection with tax taking, title, foreclosure activities, including but not limited to recording and filing fees, title examinations, mailing, publishing and advertising costs, land court petitions and service fees, legal fees, all as permitted under General Law C60. And further to establish said tax title collection revolving fund upon the recommendation of the select board pursuant to General Law C60, Section 15B, C, and provide that, 1, there shall be credited to the fund any fees, charges, and costs incurred by the designated municipal officer under General Law C60, Sections 15, 55, 62, 65, 68, and 79, and collected upon the redemption of tax titles and from the sale of real property acquired through the foreclosure of tax titles. 2, expenditures may be made from the fund without further appropriation, subject to the requirements of General Law C41, Sections 52 and 56, and provided that no expenditures or liabilities shall be incurred in excess of the fund balance or the total amount authorized by town meeting for the fiscal year. 3, interest earned on fund balances shall be treated as general fund revenue as required by statute. 4, for fiscal year 2027, the total authorized expenditures from this fund shall not exceed $23,000. 5, the fund shall be administered in accordance with DLS Informational Guide Release IGR 2016-101, which provides guidance on the use and accounting of tax title revolving funds, or take any action thereon submitted by the select board. Majority vote required. Any comments?
No.
My only comment is that this needs to be put in place to, allow the town to be able to better manage the tax title collection process. And they, yeah. So it's basically setting up another revolving fund. And this one's specifically around textiles.
So that we're not accruing all the cost on that.
Yeah. It's a place to put it and a place to take it out of without having to try to estimate how much, so we can just keep. It's like any other revolving fund. So this is specific.
Okay,
All right, guess we'll take the next one.
yeah, Article 17.
Unless you want to volunteer.
Take the next one, 17.
Okay.
Article 17, amendment to the town bylaw, chapter 59, officers and employees. To see if the town will vote to amend town bylaw, chapter 59, officers and employees, section 59-1B by making certain additions in bold as follows. Members of the select board shall not serve in any other elected capacity on any other town or governmental regional boards, commissions, or committees of which the town of Templeton is a member. Members of the select board shall not serve in any other appointed capacity on any other town of Templeton board, commission, or committee, or take any action related thereto. Submitted by the select board, majority vote required.
Pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, and in that it basically says that a select board member should only be
A select board
a
member.
select board member. And yeah, that's it. That's what that means. Now, does that mean? Let's see, I can't pass it. Yeah, that's it. That's what it means. Okay.
But isn't there, like the selectmen, there's one who's is a representative of the select board on a regional school, yes, no?
There's liaisons, so like the
Right,
advisory has liaison for the school committee, for their subcommittees.
But that's not serving on it,
No, we're just there as a
representative.
representative, informative, to receive information as needed.
Our informants.
This is really to keep a select board member from being a select board member and
Advisory committee member.
right, exactly, sitting on advisory or sitting on planning or,
Sorry, guys.
yeah.
If the vote goes that way.
We need more volunteers.
Yeah, yes, we do.
Yeah.
So that's really the intent of this, is basically saying your job is select board, period.
Well, it can muddy the water too, like having different people on different boards and making financial decisions.
You know,
Set of eyes on each board,
Yeah.
so there's no conflicts at all is
Right.
probably ideal for this town.
Yes.
we need more volunteers, folks.
Won't make you do anything really hard out the gate.
Yeah.
Alright, Article 18,
All right.
Okay, Article 18, Amendment to Town Bylaw, Chapter 9, Article 2, Capital Improvements Committee, Section 9-7A, Establishment, Officers, Appointment and Terms, Vacancies. To see if the town will vote to amend Town Bylaw, Chapter 9, Article 2, Capital Improvements Committee, Section 9-7A, Establishment, Officers, Appointment and Term, Vacancies by making certain additions in bold and deletions and striking through as follows. There is hereby authorized a capital improvements committee to be composed of 5 members as follows, and the following is struck through. 1, from the select board, amended 6/17/2020 ATM by Article 9, 5/11/2022 ATM by Article 5. And then option 2 becomes option 1 or item 1. 1 from the advisory committee and to the item 3 becomes item 2. 3 from the community at large to be appointed by the select board and amended 5/15/2024 ATM by Article 10. So it goes from 2 in the community to 3 in the community. And then the third item is the town treasurer collector or designee amended 5/15/2024 ATM by Article 10, submitted by the select board, majority vote required.
Questions, comments, concerns?
none,
Basic, no, did you have?
Almost set.
So basically what this does is it really says, currently in today's world, there's a select board member that is appointed to the capital improvements.
Yep.
And the thought process is by removing that, where the select board member is no longer appointed, because basically what they're doing is they're reviewing and approving the recommendation from capital improvements to go to the select board. And then once they're sitting on the select board, they're voting on it again. So that is basically to remove that conflict. That is the purpose of it.
I believe you are the member who sits in that
Yes, I am.
for life.
I just don't want to be the clerk again.
Especially, we're always looking for a clerk.
And that's why you're all
Everyone's
working
always
tonight,
looking for-
I've been at my computer all day, working for you guys.
All right. Is that 18? Yeah.
Article 19, Stormwater Management Bylaw, Chapter 235, Stormwater Management. Section 235-1, Purpose and Intent.
Okay, pause. Is this one really, 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 really long? I
It
think we
is.
can waive reading the whole thing, so. Maybe just, oh my goodness, yeah, well, this is many pages, so. I would recommend that. The voters spend the time reading all of the. The bits and pieces to this, why don't you just read? The objectives of the bylaw. And then. We can waive, do we have to take a vote on waiving? Reading the whole thing?
I'll make a motion that
Okay.
we waive reading the entire article.
I'll second that motion.
And just give a summary.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Just-
believe if you read the objectives of what the bylaw is possibly, or, I don't know, up through there.
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah,
The objective of the bylaw are to require practices to control the flow of stormwater from new and redeveloped sites into the town storm drainage system in order to prevent flooding and erosion. B, to protect groundwater and surface water from degradation. C, to promote groundwater recharge. D, to prevent pollutants from entering the town's municipal separate stormwater system, MS4, and to minimize discharge of pollutants from the MS4. E, to ensure adequate long-term operation and maintenance of structural stormwater best management practices so that they work as designed. F, to comply with state and federal statutes and regulations relating to stormwater discharges. And G, to establish Templeton's legal authority to ensure compliance with the provisions of this bylaw through inspection, monitoring, and enforcement.
I also would like to add where it says the purpose and intent is a regulation of discharges to the municipal separate storm sewer system, MS4, is necessary for the protection of the town of Templeton's water bodies and groundwater and to safeguard the public health, safety, welfare, and the environment. Increased and contaminated stormwater runoff associated with developed land uses the accompanying increase in impervious surface are major causes of impairment of water quality and flow in lakes, ponds, streams, rivers, wetlands, and groundwater, which result in the contamination of drinking water supplies, erosion of stream channels, alteration or destruction of aquatic wildlife habitat, and flooding. This bylaw establishes minimum stormwater management standards for the final conditions that result from development and redevelopment projects to minimize adverse impacts off-site and downstream, which would be borne by abutters, townspeople, and the general public. And B, this bylaw requires local review and approval of a stormwater management plan for all development and redevelopment projects that disturb 1 acre or more. In addition to this bylaw, the owner and or developers are also obligated to meet requirements of the Federal Environmental Protection Agency, EPA's regulations for stormwater management. And there are many pages of definitions that follow.
So submitted by the select board and requires 2/3 vote.
And I'll save my questions for town meeting 4.
You have to vote completely on if, We didn't wanna read through that right now, or?
When we vote tonight, yeah.
We move to Article 20?
Yeah, is there any other discussion on that? It seems.
No.
No.
Okay.
Take the next one.
This is my notepad.
No, that's okay. Are you ready?
Yep, I'm ready.
Okay. Right. So, set the okay, Article 20, set the salaries of elected town officials. So, to see if the town will vote in accordance with MGL, Chapter 41, Section 108, fix or maintain the salaries of certain elected officials for the fiscal year, 2026 as follows. Town clerk, $87,516, moderator, $500, select board each, $2,550, water commissioner each, $2,550, sewer commissioner each, $3,000, light commissioner each, $2,550. And it goes through, and the water, sewer and light is paid for by the enterprise. Excuse me, which ones are these? Sorry, water and sewer is paid by the enterprise fund. And then the light is paid for by the light department, or take any other action related thereto, submitted by the select board, majority vote required.
This is just a standard.
It is a standard. I believe the entire select board has already stated that they will not be taking their stipend this year.
I remember hearing that too.
Yeah, so that will be changing to, my understanding is that has to change on the town meeting floor.
Does it, or did they just not collect it and it goes back on general fund?
We have to vote on it yearly, so I think it just goes to 0 for this year.
It goes to 0 for this year, and that means that the money is already and can be used in the general fund as opposed to having to be kind of put aside. So.
Did someone change their mind?
I don't know.
Okay. Moving on to Article 21, right? Is that where we are?
Yep.
Okay,
Volunteer.
I got it. I can do it. Article 21, the FY 2027 sewer department operating budget. To see if the town will vote to appropriate the sum of money to operate the sewer department for fiscal year 2027, and the balance from the receipts and revenues to be collected on behalf of the sewer department for said fiscal year, or take any other action related thereto, submitted by the select board on behalf of the sewer commission. Majority vote required.
Technically, the sewer department is a department of the town. That's why it's showing up on the article. Even though the money's coming out of their, their,
Enterprise fund?
thank you, the enterprise fund, yes.
This is just a standard.
Yeah.
Article.
Yeah, standard article.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Moving on to Article 22.
FY 2027 cable department operating budget, to see if the town will vote to appropriate a sum of money to operate the cable department for fiscal year 2027, and to meet said appropriation from certified retained earnings of the cable fund, and the balance from the receipts and revenues to be collected on behalf of the cable department for said fiscal year, or take any other action related thereto, submitted by the select board, majority vote required.
I think he was, when he spoke earlier, he said that he was going to be amending this on the floor.
Yes.
But also Article 3.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Moving on to Article 23.
So I'll take that one too. Article 23, funding for ambulance department operations, to see if the town will vote to transfer a sum of money from the fire department / ambulance receipts reserved for appropriation to be spent by the fire chief to pay for the operations of the ambulance service within the fire department during FY 2027. And with any unexpended monies in the ambulance budget being returned to the receipts reserved for appropriation account. And with unexpended balances in the receipts reserved for appropriation account being carried forward to the subsequent fiscal year. Or take any other action related thereto, submitted by the select board, majority vote required.
Right,
So what this is about is there's money collected from the ambulance that will partially fund the ambulance operations. And the ambulance operations includes the firefighters. So part of it comes from paying the firefighters, part of it comes from the general fund, the other part comes from the ambulance receipts. So it's a combined thing in how they get paid. Where the money comes from specifically.
this is just to approve how it's appropriated.
Yeah, it's basically to move the funds. So that way, out of ambulance receipts reserved, right? And move it into basically make it available so they can pay the firefighters out of a combination between the percentage that isn't covered by the general fund will be covered by this instead. Okay.
24.
Sure thing.
Article 24, Montezuma Regional Vocational Technical School. See if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $662,716.00 as the amount assessed upon the town for the fiscal year 2026 assessment by the Montezuma Regional Vocational Technical School District for the purpose of educating and transferring the town's enrolled students and capital and debt expenses provided. However, that any stated amount shall be reduced to any lesser amount, which shall subsequently be certified by the school committee and certified to the town fiscal year 2026, or take any other action related thereto. Submitted by the select board on behalf of Montezuma Regional Vocational Technical School District, majority vote required.
This is just there.
This is the appropriation of the funds that are needed by the money, by Monty Tech. So we're going to see a couple more of these coming through here, one for Norfolk County and also one for Narragansett. So they've kept their numbers really low, really good.
Any other questions or comments on Article 24?
Nope.
Okay, I can read Article 25. Norfolk County Cultural School Tuition, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of money to pay for the tuition of a Templeton resident admitted to the Norfolk County Agricultural School as required by Chapter 74 of the Massachusetts General Laws, or take any other action related thereto, submitted by the select board, majority vote required. This comes up every year. We're required to pay this bill.
Is this year 3 or 4?
I think this is 3.
And they will give the actual, they'll make an amendment to include the actual amount on town meeting floor.
Okay. All right, moving on to Article 26.
Norfolk County Agricultural School Transportation to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate a sum of money to pay for the transportation of a Templeton resident admitted to the Norfolk County Agricultural School as required by Chapter 74 of the Massachusetts General Laws, or take any other action related thereto, submitted by the Select Board, majority vote required. So this is basically paying for the transportation of the student that is attending the Norfolk Agricultural School.
And by law, we are required to do that.
And by law, we are required to do that.
And gas is point out.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments?
Oh,
Okay,
Article 27.
Mhm.
Fiscal year 2027 general fund operating OPEX budget. See if the town will vote to raise and appropriate a sum of money for the operations of general government for fiscal year 2027. Or take any other action related thereto, submitted by the Select Board, majority vote required.
this is where
This is where I'll say my assumption, I'll say my understanding is that Article 27 will be amended on town meeting floor for the Prop 2.5 override for 2 million and 4 million. I believe this is the one. Now, I don't know how we'll go about doing that to confirm it after we close the meeting tonight, but that's my understanding is that's what this is.
I believe this is the language.
Okay, do you want,
I don't, is this where we think it's going?
may I read it?
Absolutely.
Okay, so, all right, so for anybody in the audience, what's in front of me is basically what the ballot question will look like. Okay, so, I'm gonna read this anyways, just so everyone is aware. Instructions, questions 1A and 1B are separate questions. You may vote yes or no on each question independently. Each question requires a majority of those voting on the question to pass. If more than one question passes, the question with the higher dollar amount will prevail. So what this means is it will have already gone through town meeting. Town meeting would have said, yes, do the proposition 2.5 override. We have to do that. And then it also has to pass at the ballot box. And I'm going to read the two questions to you as it would be at the ballot box. So, shall the town of Templeton be allowed to assess an additional $2 million in real estate and personal property taxes for the purpose of funding the operating budgets of the town and Narragansett Regional School District for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2026? That's the first question. The second question is the same thing, except for $4 million. And that's what it is. So my understanding is Article 27 is the town meeting part of this that we have to pass to be able to get to the ballot box for this particular question. Thank you very much.
So this will be amended with
With the amounts,
the amounts.
yes.
Right. Any other questions, comments, or discussions? No, hearing none, moving on to Article 28. I can read that if I can find it for you. Article 28, the Narragansett Regional School District, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of money for the purposes of educating and transporting the town's enrolled students, provided, however, that any stated amount shall be reduced to any lesser amounts, which shall subsequently be certified by the school committee and certified to the town for fiscal year 2027, or take any other action related thereto, submitted by the select board, majority vote required. This will also be amended on town floor with numbers.
Yes, that is my understanding, is that it'll be amended.
I'm still having numbers right now.
So 29, we've already just,
Yes, and this moves now into the citizens petition. We've already discussed Articles 29, Articles 30, 31, 32, 33, 34. It brings us up to Article 35. There are no residents here currently to discuss Articles 35 through 40. We can read just very quick summaries. So Article 35 is a citizen's petition to see if the town will amend zoning bylaw chapter 300 C-I-A by adding section A to the following. 9 activities prohibited shall include regulated technologies. Further prohibited is stockpiling, handling, or storage of waste, post-use materials, raw materials, feedstock, commodities, or any substance related to regulated technologies, or take any other action relative to those definitions of these things. It was a citizen's petition submitted by Rachel Herman and 137 others, and 2/3 votes required. There are no residents to speak upon these things. Does any of the advisory members have anything to talk about?
wasn't this rejected by the Attorney General?
Yes,
It was,
well, not this particular.
this particular one, but the one, two others were.
It's, I guess I got it.
Is it written differently now? I have no idea.
Is it written differently?
It sounds a little bit.
It is, I'll state a concern I have with this is that I don't think this went through the planning board. I don't think it followed all of the processes in town. And I'm hoping somebody from the planning board will speak to this on town meeting floor.
Wasn't one of the reasons that it was rejected is because the town does have all these processes in place to address this kind of thing.
Yes, there's a process that should be followed.
Moving on to Article 36. To see if the town will amend zoning bylaw chapter 300-9 CBI by adding section A to the following. Activities prohibited shall include regulated technologies. Further prohibited is stockpiling, handling, or storage of waste, post-use materials, raw materials, feedstock, commodities, and any substance related to regulated technologies, or take any action they're related to. This sounds just like the last one, so then
It's very similar.
I don't know what the difference is. There's no resident to speak to.
And the same comment, while I applaud citizens, wanting to protect the environment, there's a process to go through.
And as advisory committee members have spoken in the past, like for the citizens petition, just like Mr. Capels and Mr. Francis came, they gave their time tonight to explain the reasoning behind their petitions and why they feel the way they do. We encourage any resident who has citizen petitions to do the same, because we don't take positions on these things. We're just here to inform the residents what to expect at annual town meeting. Moving on to number 37.
Let me read that one.
Sure.
Okay. Citizens petition to see if the town will hold a public hearing on resident concerns that 24 Holman Street is a planned site for waste plastic incineration plant per press release from Clean Seas, where town will address resident concerns that the land court in 22 TL 001280 Town of Templeton versus Mac Valley LLC has ordered payment to the town of over $520,000, with interest may now be close to $600,000, and yet the town has not proceeded to foreclose, depriving town of assets and due process. Where the town will provide facts of public record upon which its decisions are made relative to this property, including the decision not to foreclose and take the land. for the long-term welfare of the town, rezone, subdivide, and sell parcels as needed, where residents may ask and be answered regarding the town's response to threats posed by the planned waste plastic incinerator plant to health, life, environment, and the property value, or take any other action relative thereto. A citizen's petition submitted by Rachel Herman and 129 others, majority vote required.
Any other, have any comments on this?
Kind of a question, honestly. Is this land still contaminated?
Oh, yes.
Yes. So the town would be taking on contaminated land if we were to foreclose on it.
Yes,
However, the taxes have been paid.
but the taxes have been paid.
Not our-
So we cannot dictate what happens if it falls within the zoning.
This is a non-issue.
It's considered, the property is considered a brownfield.
So there's legal stipulations as to what can and can't go there that are completely out of the town's control. It's the
Correct.
EPA at that
Correct.
point.
And they
Correct.
already paid their taxes, so.
Yep, and they paid the taxes, so.
Mhm.
And I think that's all we can really say.
Okay, moving on to Article 38.
Oh, my goodness.
We're not going to read all of this, so just. Actually, I think I have a little summary that I might have written down myself. Article 38, citizens petition to see if the town will vote to amend zoning bylaws to add the following 360-day moratorium on data centers, whereas the proliferation of data center expansion in Massachusetts cities and towns have taken moratoriums under advisement in order to review their zoning and land use and to formulate regulations governing the impacts of these facilities, which require adoption by ordinance of the governing body by city or town. And whereas the town of Templeton's zoning and land use and development regulations make no specific provision of data centers within the town, either by right or a special use permit, whereas data centers may pose significant risk to safety and quality of life, including use of large capacity diesel generators, fuel tanks, and noise. Anybody have anything that they want to speak upon that?
That was to go before the zoning and planning board.
Yes,
Exactly.
Or
We
maybe
have
ours.
things in place. If we don't have like water infrastructure or whatever else they need, that would be observed and presented and
Yeah.
that we have the process in place. That's how I feel.
Me too.
E3, so there's a process for them to follow to do this. I understand some of the concerns that again, that the citizens petition, they're valid concerns, but the process needs to go through, start with planning.
Okay, Article 39. Anybody wanna make that?
Article 39, citizens petition. We, the undersigned, are qualified voters of the town of Templeton, request the subject below be acted upon at the next annual town meeting. See if the town will vote to adopt the following interim restrictions memorandum to its zoning bylaws. While the town recognizes in an act promoting a clean energy grid, advancing equity and protecting ratepayers, the 2024 Climate Act, the Massachusetts Department of Energy Resources has yet to promulgate final regulations governing battery energy storage systems, a land not presently addressed by this ordinance. Since such regulations must be known and duly considered in order to effectively evaluate and establish local zoning regulations for such a novel and evolving use in regard to public health, safety, and welfare, this interim restriction is hereby established. For purposes of this section, a battery energy storage system, BESS, is one or more devices assembled together capable of storing energy in order to supply and distribute electrical energy at a future time, including any standalone principle, such use of land and any accessory system supporting a non-BESS principal use. Having an aggregate energy capacity of 250 kilowatts or more, excluded from this definition is any large 100 MWH capacity or more. BESS solely under the jurisdiction of the Commonwealth Energy Facilities Siting Board as specified by the Act and its regulations. In any zoning district, a battery energy storage system is a prohibited use This memorandum shall remain effective and through May 12, 2027, or such time when zoning regulations superseding any provision of this section are duly adopted, or take any other actions relative thereto.
I think that this is something that definitely needs to be looked in, but again, it's controlled by our zoning board. Because all of the other surrounding towns have bought off the storage facilities for these batteries. So I definitely think that this is a valid concern, and it's definitely something that needs to be looked into more by our zoning board.
Okay, any other questions?
No, she hit it.
Okay, lastly, number 40.
All right, citizens petition, Article 40. We, the undersigned, are qualified voters of the town of Templeton and request the subject below be acted upon at the next annual town meeting to see if the town will vote to adopt the following Article 2 definitions, Section 300-7, interpretation and word usage terms defined, manufacturing, heavy. Uses that include significant impact on the environment and community during assembly, fabrication, processing, or treatment of raw materials or other industrial products with large-scale machinery and high-volume freight loading, uploading, and storage activities. Such use does not include heavy metal fabrication, batch plants, slaughterhouses, salvage yards, asphalt, chemical, or petroleum manufacturing or refining exploration for natural gas and or petroleum or transfer piping, processing or treatment of natural gas or petroleum, or related stockpiling of materials and other uses with potentially harmful health, environmental, or nuisance impacts, or take any other action relative thereto.
Any questions or comments?
Zoning board
So,
again?
board again.
Zoning, planning, one of those.
Should look into this, or are we already? Zoning board is there to look into this already?
Yeah, there's a process that they should be following. We have boards that take care of it. The other thing I just want to say is, while all of these are well-intentioned, very well-intentioned, there's a process, and those boards in town, whether it's zoning or planning or whatever, are there to help the citizens. Are there, they have the resources, they have the contacts, they have the knowledge and experience to be able to help put these kinds of things in place. So
Reach out to them, email them.
yeah, and use that, work with them, use that process, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, that brings us to our roll call vote. So I will go through each article, and the options are obviously yes, no, or abstain for everybody. Try to go as quick as possible, but I need to keep all this like down. So, all right, so Article 1. Which is the late bills. Reese, how do you vote?
Yes.
April?
Yes.
Liz?
Yes.
I also vote yes. Article 2, which is the operating budget 2026 operating budget amendments. Reese, how do you vote?
I abstain.
Yes.
April's yes. Liz?
Yes.
I also am yes. Article 3 is TCTV supplemental appropriation. Reese, how do you vote?
Yes.
April?
Yes.
Liz? I also vote yes. Article 4, deposit to capitalization stabilization fund. Reese, how do you vote?
Yes.
April?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I also vote yes. Where we at? Sorry.
5.
Article 5, capital items. That's the window replacement and bullet resistant glass. Reese, how do you vote?
Yes.
April?
Yes.
Liz?
Yes.
I also vote yes. Article 6, the sewer department operating budget. Reese, how do you vote? April?
Yes.
Liz?
Yes.
I also vote yes. Sorry, this, my packet is too big. Article 7, consent agenda. Reese, how do you vote?
Yeah.
April?
Yes.
Yes.
Liz, I also vote yes. Article 8, funding of community preservation accounts. Reese, how do you vote?
Yeah.
April?
Yes.
Liz?
Yes.
I also vote yes. Article 9, Heroes Park Project. Reese, how do you vote?
Yeah.
April?
Yes.
Liz?
Yes.
I also vote yes. Article 10, CPA funding for open space, recreation, planning. Reese, how do you vote? April?
Yes.
Liz?
Yes.
I vote yes. Sorry. 11, acceptance of clause 37A exemption for blind persons. Reese, how do you vote?
Yes.
April?
Yes.
Liz?
Yes.
I also vote yes. Article 12, exemption amount cost of living adjustments, clause 17D for certain seniors, surviving spouses and minors. Reese, how do you vote?
Yes.
April?
Yes.
Liz?
Yes.
I also vote yes. Article 13, exemption amount adjustment for clause 41C for certain seniors. Reese, how do you vote?
Yeah.
April?
Yes.
Liz?
Yes.
I also vote yes. 14, senior tax work-off abatement. Reese, how do you vote?
Yes.
April?
Yes.
Liz?
Yes.
I also vote yes. Article 15, prudent investment rule. Reese, how do you vote?
Yes.
April?
Yes.
Yes.
Liz is yes, I also vote yes. Article 17, amendment to town bylaws.
16.
Oh, sorry. Article 16, tax title collection revolving fund. Reese, how do you vote?
Yes.
April?
Yes.
Liz? I also vote yes. Article 17, amendment to town bylaw, chapter 59, officer and employees. Reese, how do you vote?
Yes.
April?
Yes.
Liz?
I abstain.
And I also vote yes. Article 18, amendment to town bylaw, chapter 9, article 2, capital improvements committee, establishment, officers, appointment, term and vacancies. Reese, how do you vote?
Yes.
April?
Yes.
Liz?
I abstain.
I vote yes. Article 19, stormwater management bylaw. Reese, how do you vote?
Yes.
April?
Yes.
Liz?
Yes.
I also vote yes. Article 20, to set the salaries for elected for fiscal year 26. Reese, how do you vote?
Yes.
April?
Yes.
Liz?
I abstain.
Yes. 21. Did I skip something?
No.
Oh, okay. Article 21, the FY 27 sewer department operating budget. Reese, how do you vote?
Yes.
April?
Yes.
Liz?
Yes.
I vote yes. Article 22, 27, FY 27 cable department operating budget. Reese, how do you vote?
Yes.
April?
Yes.
Yes.
Liz? I also vote yes. Article 23, funding for ambulance department operations. Reese, how do you vote?
I abstain.
April?
Yes.
Yes.
Liz is yes, I also vote yes. Article 24, Monty Tech. Reese, how do you vote?
Yes.
April?
Yes.
Liz?
Yes.
I also vote yes. 25, Norfolk Agricultural School tuition. Reese, how do you vote?
Yeah.
April?
Yes.
Liz?
Yes.
I also vote yes. Article 26, Norfolk Agricultural Transportation. Reese, how do you vote?
Yeah.
April?
Yes.
Yes.
Liz? I also vote yes. 28, Narragansett Regional School District.
Miss the
General fund.
general fund,
mm,
Down on the bottom.
Article 27.
sorry, wait a minute. Sorry, okay. Yes, okay. Article 27, general fund operating budget. Reese, how do you vote?
Yeah.
April?
Yes,
Liz? I also vote yes. Okay, Narragansett Regional, Article 28, Narragansett Regional School District. Reese, how do you vote?
Yes.
April?
Yes.
Liz?
yes,
I also vote yes. And now we're into the citizens petition. So Articles 29 through 40. The advisory committee will take no recommendation on these articles. Due to being and respecting the wishes of our citizens. At this time, I will entertain a motion to close pre-town meeting.
so moved.
Okay. Who's seconding that?
I'll second that.
Okay, Liz with one. April is two, okay. Reese, how do you vote to close pre-town meeting?
Yes, please.
April?
Yeah.
Yes,
Liz, I also vote yes, so pre-town meeting is now closed at 9:30, which puts us at number 7, member comments. Reese, do you have any member comments for tonight? April, member comments?
I would like to thank the citizens who came to present their petitions. The clarification was greatly appreciated and the conversation was great. And thank you so much for all of the work with this. I really do appreciate you taking the time to do that.
Yeah.
And I just want the public to know that I did not read any articles because I had been typing up meeting minutes the majority of the day. Which consists of numerous pages in meetings.
Liz?
all right, so, again, thank you for doing the voters guide. So thank you very much. Thank you for running through all this. Everything April just said, thank you for everyone who attended. Thank you for everyone who's listening. This has been, will continue to be for a little bit harder, a very difficult budget season. And everyone needs to understand that everybody's trying to do their best and trying to do the best thing for our entire community. Our community has a lot of great things going for it. And we are a village, it takes a village, and we need to make sure that we all understand that at the end of the day. And there's only X amount of money available if the either override does not pass, and we are basically level funded from last year with the little bit, the 2.5% that we do get. It is going to be a very, very tough year. And I can't say that strongly enough. Please look at everything, talk to people, come to your own decision as far as what you think is best for yourself and for the community at large. Thank you very much. And thank you for listening.
I just would like to say thank you to everybody who came out tonight. I know these always seem to go a little bit longer. I hope that the residents will share this pre-town with other residents. I hope to have the voters guide out by the end of the week at the very latest. I'm gonna finish it and let April proofread it so she gets to read more, because that's what she's missing in her life. And at that, I would entertain,
May I add just one more thing?
yes.
Thank you very much for coming, Reese, and thank you
Thank
for
you
volunteering.
tonight.
Thank you very, very much.
At that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Third.
Wait. You were gonna,
Oh, yes.
so move.
Yes, so move.
You were seconding?
Yes.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Reese, how do you vote to close the meeting?
Yes.
April?
Yes.
Liz?
Oh, I want to stay around. No, look,